I get hers, then I'll finish rewriting it. But I knew she would have some.
I thought you wrote it up pretty good. I didn't see anything to change. A couple words to fix them maybe. But
Yeah, well, I knew that she had some particular wording that she was messing with and trying to get me to write down.
How are you?
My long hand and short hand wasn't probably up to
oh, it came out pretty good.
said good
I was
morning.
pleased. In fact, I was pleased with the whole thing.
Evening, sir. How you doing? Man, it's going.
Hi, how are you?
I was gonna come in here in the back.
Yes, Christy.
T-shirt, 'cause I got
Nice to meet you.
thought about it, and I thought, you know, I was gonna be here.
Thank you, Mackenzie.
Easy, I don't have to come over with my notebook.
I already voted.
Oh, I bet that was great.
Did you ladies leave those at that first station over there? Nobody was sitting there?
I got one.
Good grief.
Yeah, they got you, Brian. You're taking care of.
I didn't make sure I
Mike?
I'll put them right here with Dr. Roger Blakely's card.
Oh,
Yep, okay, I'll take you both. Okay.
Thank you. I forgot to take my
Okay,
allergy shot today.
I didn't get one. I don't think I got one.
Thank you. I never forget. Hope I don't forget tonight.
And I should
Guess
have
I'll put
given
another
one.
reminder on my phone. More like 10 o'clock.
I don't know. Maybe. I'll take another.
Ed's place is good, he's not here.
Yes, yes, yes.
I have a great story for you. Oh my gosh.
My clock says 5 o'clock.
Okay.
I don't know if that's.
It's good. It's all good.
Grace real quick.
That'll give Harry a moment to stand up for saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah. Here we go. Body gets up here. I'm up.
All right, we'll see how quickly Matt can.
So if I got myself together here, finish the board.
I am fogging over here.
Just waiting for.
My glasses, I had to adjust them again. I fog over. Yeah. One more.
Okay. We're going to call this meeting to order. Everybody, please face the flag right over there for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to introduce the speakers we have here from the State Auditor's Office because our audit has begun.
Is Ed gonna make it?
I'm not sure if Ed will be here. Ed may be joining us just a bit later. This is an earlier meeting than is normal. All right, we have with us Deborah Whitus, thank you. Deborah Whitus, the audit manager, and Mackenzie Wooster, also here from the Office of the State Auditor. And I am going to turn the floor over to them to say a few words.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Do we have a microphone for them?
Can you hear me?
And we want to make sure that it's,
Is it going out?
I'll just give you that one, you don't have to hold it.
Okay, that works for me. Okay, everyone hear me okay now?
can they, I'm assuming that the audience at home can hear just fine? Perfect. Lovely.
Okay, as Aaron said, I'm Deb Whitus, I'm the audit manager. Mackenzie Wooster is the in charge on the audit, and joining us on Zoom is Kayla Gibson. She's going to be our staff auditor. Can you wave, Kayla? I'll kind of go over a little bit. We do have some business cards. If anyone wants our business cards, we put them on the green table over there. So I've handed out several already, but if I missed you, they're over there. I'll go ahead and let you know that our audit director, Kelly Davis, is not here with us tonight, but she will be the highest level of audit supervisory review before it gets to our quality control and legal and then the state auditor itself. And I'll explain that a little bit more as we go through. We're here tonight because of the petition audit process. We received a petition under section 29.230 of the revised Missouri statutes. There were 5,612 votes cast in the last gubernatorial election. So you needed a minimum of 750 or 10% of the votes. So it ended up, the audit required a minimum of 750 signatures. And we received 902 valid signatures certified by the Saline County Clerk. So that was 152 signatures above the number required. And I'll go ahead and explain kind of the audit process and the cost. In accordance with the statute, we will bill the school district for the cost of the audits upon completion. And we only bill for our actual costs. We keep track of our time that we spend on it, and that includes our administrative staff and quality control as well. Everyone keeps timesheets and tracks the hours dedicated to the audit. The estimated cost, as stated in the petition in the signature forms, was $65,000 to $85,000.
Yeah, and will you say that again? 65,000 to 85,000, right?
Yes,
Because
that-
we had a press release go out that said more than that, so I just want to make sure that
Yes.
that's the stated amount. Thank you
Yes.
very much.
Yes, what we've estimated could range from 65,000 on the low end up to 85,000 on the high end.
Thanks.
Now, if we run into some problems or that is going to take additional time to complete, then we would let you know before those costs are incurred, so you'll have an idea if it's going to exceed that amount.
Great, thank you.
The engagement letter, do you guys have that? I have an extra copy if you don't.
I got it.
We got it, though. Didn't we get it through email?
I'm pretty sure it
Okay. That was signed by the audit director, Kelly Davis, and it details not only our statutory duties, but then it also includes the audit scope, the audit objectives, our methodology, and that our audit will be conducted in accordance with government auditing standards. It further details management responsibility. That would be the district's responsibilities for making records and information available to us, for designing and implementing controls to prevent and detect fraud, and to ensure the district complies with applicable laws and regulations. Please let us know of any allegations of or suspected fraud, any instances of noncompliance, and any previous audits or reports related to our audit objectives. The engagement letter also details the district's responsibility for payment of billed audit costs at completion of the audit. And I would like to have that letter. Do you need another copy now?
No, we had it emailed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to have that signed and returned to our office just as soon as possible after tonight.
Do we have to sign?
We have, okay, I don't know if we have one that we're supposed to
I
sign.
haven't seen one for us to sign.
Did you send it today?
No, last week.
Oh, okay. I haven't received it.
I thought we got one, I think we got one in our email that Dr. Mayer had signed.
So
Okay.
that one.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll,
I still have a copy of it, but I did fax it that day that I got it.
oh, you faxed it?
To the number on the, yeah.
Okay, that's why I haven't gotten it yet.
Okay.
Since we're teleworking, we have a rotational schedule so that we can't have, our office is so little in Jeff City that we're trying to limit to the number of people that are in there at a time. So we have one person go in once a week just to check the faxes. So I just haven't received it yet, so. And if you wanted to email that, scan it and email, that would be fine. I'd probably get it quicker than the fax, so.
But we don't all need to sign that?
No, it's just typically who you designate. A lot of times it's the president of the board and either the superintendent or CFO. So it's whoever the board
Yeah,
designates
it's right
to do
here.
that.
We got it on February 19th in our email. Okay.
Okay, now I'll go over the sequence of events. It started with the petitioner contact, which was a closed conversation with the chief petitioner, and any concerns that are disclosed to us, either in the past or in the future, are confidential, and they will remain confidential. We cannot disclose concerns with anyone. The entrance conference, this conference is a public meeting. Field work started in early February. Kayla started a little bit before Mackenzie and I were ready to get started, so she did a little bit of legwork in the background and pulled down as much information off of the website that was available, along with help from Dr. Meyer there.
Dr. Mayer.
Mayor,
Yeah.
sorry.
It's
Mayor Meyer.
an important but slight distinction, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, you're not the first.
It's about like my last name.
See, yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay, so we're hoping to have field work completed by the end of April, provided that we don't have any unforeseen circumstances come up, where that's our goal right now. If anything changes, we'll let you know, and we will visit with you when we're completing field work, and then give you an update on anything that we found. If there are any serious concerns, we will discuss that with the board and Dr. Mayer at that time. We won't wait until the end of the audit if it's significant. Once we get field work done, then we'll go back to the working on mainly at home. We'll try to do as much possible from the remote location as possible. There will be a few more times where we'll come down in person to get records and do interviews. But once we get the bulk of the field work done, then the staff will finish up the work papers. I'll review them. The director reviews some of the work. They'll finalize the audit report, and then I'll review the audit report. The director will review it, and then also our quality control and our legal department will review it. And once that's done, we'll have a draft ready, and then we will reach out to you and say we have a draft copy ready, and we're ready to set up a closed exit meeting. And at that point, we'll meet strictly with the board and then any of the key school district employees that need to be at the meeting. So anything that's discussed in that closed exit meeting is confidential, and we request that it's not does not get disclosed. At that point, the report is a draft, and it's still subject to change. And that is allowed under the Sunshine Law, section 610.021, subsection 17. At that point, we would ask for responses to any audit findings, and those responses would get added to the report. And then it'll go through the review process again, where Mackenzie will put the responses in, and then I'll review it, the director, quality control, and legal. And then the final step would be State Auditor Nicole Galloway. And then once she does the final review and approval of it, then we will release it to the public. The school board and members of the school that have requested to receive a copy of the report, they will get a copy 2 hours before it's released to the press. And any citizens, community members that would also like a copy of the report, they can give us a call, or email us, and our contact info is on the card, our business cards. So, and we will put you on the distribution list. Anyone that's not an employee or of the district or a board member, they will receive their report at the same time that the press receives theirs. Our audit period and audit scope, we're going to concentrate on fiscal year 20, which is the year ending June 30th, 2020. We will also look at any activity and transactions up through current, and we could go back past that, but right now we're going to focus on that. We're still in the initial planning stages, so we're gathering information, trying to plan our work and decide how much further we need to go back. But basically, we're going to focus on fiscal year 20 at this point. We typically don't look at issues that are more than a couple years old unless there are issues that are still currently ongoing. Then we could go back that far. The delivery process, when the report's ready to be released, we do those electronically now. You can still get a hard copy version, but it will be mailed at the time that it's released to the press, so you will get it probably a couple of days later. Okay, our audit procedures, we're not going to give an opinion on the financial statements, but we will do some financial related work. The audit that we're doing is a performance audit, and it will not take the place of your required financial statement audit every year. So there's two different purposes, two different types of audits there. We try not to do any duplicative efforts, so we will ask for copies of the most recent CPA reports. We'll look at those. We may even reach out to the financial statement auditors too if we have any questions. So we'll do some general compliance work such as the budgets, sunshine law, and grant and contract agreements. And just general operations of the district, management practices, including any bidding practices, and then prudent use of public funds. And then also we'll investigate any concerns that are brought to our attention. We met with the chief petitioner, so if anyone has any concerns, they can either call or email our office. We've left several business cards on the table over there with the green tablecloth. We would like those as soon as possible, preferably within 2 weeks. Like I said, we're in the planning stages, so the sooner that we can have all the concerns brought to us, the sooner the better. That will help us plan and prepare for the audit better. Due to the confidential nature of our work, once a concern is given to us, we cannot discuss or work on those concerns with the citizens. It is possible we may call the citizen after a concern is brought to us to get more information or a better understanding of what the complaint was, but we won't discuss what we're finding with the citizens. I want to stress our audit is entirely confidential up until the report is released. So, and that is when the report will be released to the petitioners and any citizens that have requested a report. Section 29.070 of the revised Missouri statutes prohibits state auditor's office employees from revealing information secured in the course of an audit. So anything that's brought to us, we will keep it confidential. Does anyone have any questions about the audit process or? Okay. Well, that's all that I had. So if you guys want to get a hold of us later on after the meeting, that's fine. I don't want to discuss any concerns in this meeting now. I just want to make sure everyone knows how to get a hold of us if there's any concerns. And that we'll be reaching out to employees of the school district asking for information. We got quite a bit today, so it was a very productive day, so.
Great.
Could you go back over the release date of the audit?
to the public? You have a targeted date for that?
We do not have a targeted date for the release. We hope to accomplish field work. The field work, we're estimating will run through the end of April. And then once field work is finished, then we'll be wrapping up all the documentation in our review of such, working on the report. And then, like I said, it goes through several levels of review before you get the exit draft. So once we have a draft report ready after April 30th, which I would say at the earliest, probably 6 weeks. And it depends on how many audits we have in the queue. Because and this happens a lot, we'll pull out of the field about the same time that several other audits do. So then we have the director that may be managing several audits, the manager that may be managing several audits, as well as quality control and legal that are trying to get all these reports reviewed at the same time. So it just depends on where it falls in the queue when we get a draft report ready. But as soon as we have it ready, then we'll set up the closed exit meeting, go over it with the board, get responses, and then it'll go through another review of, Mackenzie will put the responses in, I'll review it, the director will review it, and then it goes through quality control. Typically legal, again, especially if there's changes involving legal, and then the state auditor will review it. So depending on how many are in the queue when we get to that point will depend on how quick we can get back. So I would say at least 3 months after field work is in. So, but that's just a rough estimate, and it, like I said, it depends on how many audits are in the queue when we get to that point.
I'm pausing for more questions.
Okay.
902 ballot signatures. You came just about the time to review. 902 ballot signatures needs.
I don't think that's the question. I'll just say for anyone listening at home, if you have trouble finding Deborah, the last name is spelled Whittis, or Mackenzie Wooster on the state auditor's website. I've got cards. We've all got cards, but I've got cards. Feel free to email me. I'll send you their contact information. I'd be happy to. I'm relatively easy to find on the website. So.
Yes. And also on the state auditor's website, there's a toll-free number, and that's 1-800-347-8597. 1-800-347-8597. And that's our toll-free hotline number. The main line is on our business cards. It's 573-751-4213. And then you can also email the state auditor. We have a hotline email that is manned, and it is moaudit, MOAUDIT, @auditor.mo.gov.
Case sensitive.
And there's information on our website about the petition audits and the petition audit process. So if someone has more questions about the process, they can look on our website. It's down towards, when you pull up the main website, it would be on the left-hand side. There should be a square about halfway down that says petition audits. And there's a lot of frequently asked questions and then a little more detail on the process itself, so. Okay.
Last call for questions.
Well, welcome and thank you.
Thank
and,
you.
I do hope and expect that we've given you a warm and hospitable welcome.
Been very good so far.
Yay,
Thank you.
There you go. Well, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
on to the next items. We've got to move through some minutes here. We're on item number 4 on the agenda in front of you. Approval of minutes of the January 26th regular board meeting, February 2nd special board meeting, and electronic communication from February 16th. We need a motion and/or discussion.
I'll make a motion. Second.
Any discussion? Okay. Thought I heard something. Nope. Okay.
No, all good.
Cool. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Cool. All right. Approval of February bills totaling $1,686,683.76. Do we have a motion?
I will move.
Motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we got a second. Do we have any discussion, questions, et cetera?
I do. Did we get the Eastwood boiler repaired? Was that successful?
Yeah, I'll talk about it a little bit more in depth in a minute, but
Okay.
we got it back going, yes.
Okay.
Eastwood, not Beaker, right? Did I hear that right?
He's gonna speak on it later.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
More
but
in depth.
Eastwood was the school that was mentioned, yes, ma'am.
Thank you, thank you. Other questions?
Aaron, it's really hard for us to hear down here. I don't know if there's something behind us or what, just so if you guys could speak up, if you don't mind. Thank you.
Yeah, all kinds of noises.
I know I can't, I don't know if it's
Getting
just,
hold of those, Mary.
no, I can't hear it.
I was just saying, was it Eastwood or Beaker? Yeah, because I couldn't
And
get
this one.
straight. Yeah. Okey doke. I think that question is settled then, yes?
Yeah, he's gonna talk on it later. I'm
Cool.
okay with that.
Any other questions? Well, then let's call this vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Cool, okay. Going on to monthly finance reports. Need a motion to approve. I know, I'm scrolling down to them myself.
I'll make a motion.
Got a
I'll
motion?
second.
Got a second. Any questions or discussion? Singing the Jeopardy theme song in my head still.
Ding, 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 ding.
Wait, we don't want to violate copyright.
Oh, that's right.
All right, let's call the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Cool. Technology program review. Need a motion to approve.
Also move.
Okay.
Second as presented?
And any questions, comments, et cetera?
Yeah, thermal cameras, it says here that we have them complete. Are they doing anything that, what we designed them for? Are they finding things?
They're dialing in our temperatures as we come in, yes.
I'm just hoping,
They're scanning those kids in
Yeah.
groups.
Yeah, they're scanning students as they come in the door.
Just, I think Harry was asking like how efficient possibly have they been? I know that when we started
Well-
with the COVID cycle a long time ago,
Keeper
it
can
was a lot
tell
more
them.
important to take
It
temps
took
than it
it
is
took a
now.
little bit of work to get it dialed in.
How many of them have they turned back since we got that in effect?
How many have we turned?
How many kids have we
have we
turned
turned
back for
kids,
having a fit?
that's really where I was going.
Oh,
As far as working, I mean, basically, they allow you to take multiple temperatures at a time with kids walking through the doors. And how many they're catching, that's more of a question for your nursing staff. We don't sit there and watch them, it's your nursing staff that watches those temperatures.
But there is someone monitoring
Because
that.
we put a lot of money into those things, I just.
Yeah, really.
When they spot a hop, when they pull them off the side, give them a minute, and then they manually check them again. They check them a second time.
The nurses in the
Different,
building.
the nurses,
Yeah.
different people are assigned morning duty in particular when they come in the door.
Thank you.
I know that and he may speak about it in a second, but when we first started,
Okay.
some of them, we had to work on getting the height correct and kind of ordering students to come through a particular area. I'll let Keeper talk a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so it has what's called a thermal body. It helps coordinate temperature, calibrate the temperature, and then it looks right about at the retina of your eye to get the temperature of students as they walk through the door. But it's a lot quicker than sitting there with a manual thermometer and clicking them in as they come in.
Good question, Harry.
The money we spend,
So on the cameras at the high school, it says that you're going to install, a server is going to be installed. Also, I saw that there is also some cameras damaged. Is that including going to fix those cameras that you have at the high school?
I guess I'm not sure. The Fiscal camera server was installed simply because you've reached the number. We were running your camera server on what's called a virtual machine. It basically allowed us to use the resources you had in place, but you'd outgrown that. So we put a physical camera server in place. That's been done. As far as damaged cameras, I'm not sure.
I think there's one by the athletic doors that's just hanging. That's a physical camera. I understand the server, so you're going to install the server
If there's a camera hanging from a wall, I'm not aware of it.
So I didn't know. I think it's been broke for a little bit. I think back at the beginning
I'll
of
have
school.
to check on it. I don't know about a camera.
It looked
You
to
said it's
be.
down in the athletic hall?
Yeah, the athletic doors outside.
Talking about the rear entry?
Yeah.
I'll recognize, hey. Whoa, Wilcoxon, whoa, hold your horses, sir. Now I will recognize Mr. Wilcoxon, thank you, sir. It's a doctor, but I'm not.
he needs a mic.
Exterior of the athletic hallway that does not have a camera on it. There is wire that is run there for, I believe, a previous camera,
Okay.
but it is no longer there. So there isn't a camera hanging there, but there is wire and a mount there.
Okay. So that would be what it is.
Probably ought to repeat.
Thank you.
for-
Thank you.
for the home.
Okay, so, yeah, Harry's absolutely right. So to repeat for home, it sounds like, Mr. Wilcoxon, can you still hear me back there? I'm trying to repeat what you just said, but into a microphone, right? So it just sounds like there was a place for a camera. The camera is no longer at that place. It's just sort of a place where a camera had been, hence Mrs. Varner's concern, but it's not really a concern because it's not as if there's just a camera hanging off the wall, right? Camera from a previous system. There we go. Thank you,
you.
sir. Other questions?
Call question?
I'm good. Thank you.
Excellent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Awesome. Moving right along. And then we've got the final reading of the MSBA policy GBH. It's weird hearing an echo. You guys have the monitor up now, huh?
I'm a hard copy guy.
Oh, that's
here.
awesome.
Yeah, I can hear.
So we can hear, yeah.
Okay, so I think so I've got a policy reword request, and I worked with CTA on this. I really don't mind having a motion beforehand, before we do any discussion, but,
And then modify.
exactly, because.
I move we accept.
GBH, okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, so then the modification would be like so. This is in, and I sent this around as an information item
that was good.
beforehand.
Yes.
You guys are all clear and familiar with it. I'm gonna read it out just to make it clear, and just if we have any conversation about it, that's A-okay. So the paragraph that would change would be, the original was as follows. Staff members may only communicate with students electronically for educational purposes between the hours of 6 a.m. and 9 p.m. That's with the change that Linda had written in. So thank you, from 10 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And then the paragraph continues. Staff members may use electronic communication with students only as frequently as necessary to accomplish educational purpose. The revised version reads as follows, or the revised version would read as follows. Staff members may only respond to or initiate communication with students electronically for educational purposes between the hours of 6 a.m. and 9 p.m. Such communication does not include automated or auto-generated announcements or responses set up by the teacher, e.g. automated emails that indicate that an assignment submitted by a student has been received, or announcements about assignments that teachers have set to be sent out at midnight, or that are sent by the digital platform, e.g. Google Classroom, that the teacher uses. Staff members may use electronic communication with students only as frequently as necessary to communicate, to accomplish the educational purpose. Okay, so I know we had talked about moving it from 9 to 8 as well, but that's that. Question?
No, I think we need to make it clear that there was some scrutiny after the last board meeting, after we had the first talk, or the first reading of this, that I in particular, as a board member, did not want the teachers to be working because they couldn't sleep or whatever. I don't care when you work. I don't want you to have to work that much. I don't want you to have to do that. And I want to be a good steward and helpful to your leadership so you don't feel like you have to be working at midnight. So I just want to make that very clear in this. I don't have a concern with what time my child gets emails. She's grown enough, she can turn her phone on and off and knows how to manage that. There are some kids that have parents that work all hours of the night that don't turn their device off. And if that's the case, and these things come in at midnight, then we are interrupting potentially a kid that finally went to sleep at midnight. I'm not saying that I am for or against it. I'm just talking out loud about it. Is we very well maybe, I don't know. I think that there are ways around having to send something out automatically at midnight.
So let me ask, yeah, Ms. Kozlett, I'll recognize you.
All of those, every end user, every student, every parent can adjust their own settings. So if a student doesn't want to get notifications, they just simply turn the notifications on. As a teacher, there is no way for me to stop Google from emailing you that I've graded an assignment, that I've posted an assignment, that I've been, I cannot stop that.
So that has to be done on the parent side.
In there and change those settings,
Okay,
so.
okay.
So the point of information was that it's impossible for teachers to stop Google from sending out some automated messages in response to certain student actions, but teachers and, parents and students do have the opportunity to adjust their announcements and change their notifications. Thank you so much. Yes.
So if parents need that support, then they can go to their teachers maybe and get that help, or the admins to get that help to change notifications. I don't have that issue. I'm just
Google it.
trying to be, what'd you say, Brian?
I said, or Google it.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Okay.
I move we accept the revisions.
I will
I
second that.
second, go ahead.
Okay.
Call question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? For the sake of tidiness, do we need to circle back around? Okay, so then, any further discussion about that policy? Ooh, is that me? So sorry.
There's me.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry. We do need to accept the whole policy with that revision. That was the
That was
motion
my
that was
motion.
already on the
Okay.
floor.
Well done.
Any other comments, questions, points of discussion about that policy?
No, I thought you did a good job on that.
There we go. That was one that, and kudos to Ms. Kozlett for helping us out.
I like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, do you have you got something to say, Kim?
Can I ask a question?
I will recognize you.
I just know that my son got an assignment during the day and the assignment was due at midnight. I'm a little concerned about that because as a kid, they usually wait till the last minute,
So-
and I hadn't heard, I hadn't read this or heard it before that.
And
You're not doing things past midnight or past 9, but
And I understand that. I'm wondering, is that pertinent to a communication issue here, or is that a teacher classroom management issue? I might defer to Dr. Mayer.
And I would send you to the principal to ask that
Yeah.
question, because there's all sorts of different scenarios, there are all sorts of different
Yeah.
reasons, and
So for example, it could be open until midnight, but the student could submit it earlier, but that
Yeah.
is definitely, and whereas this policy, which, apologies, you don't have in front of you, is about making sure that we've got appropriate communication going on and boundaries set in place. Not to say that what you're saying is not apropos of that, but it might be more a classroom management issue.
I
I think that
generally,
would go directly to a teacher. I think you could probably get your answer right directly from your
Teacher,
your
yeah,
student's
exactly.
teacher.
of course, I'm dealing with older students, but I find that they like a larger window of time to do their assignments. If it's open for 48 hours, it's got to close it off somewhere.
But the perspective is useful, so thanks.
Well, and an example from, let's consider mental health even with this. And for me, if a child goes to bed, if you think your day's complete, and you go to bed, and you get all these assignments overnight, whether you get the notification or not, I don't care, they're there. You wake up and now you have 15 assignments, and you went to bed with none, and you haven't sat in class one minute yet. that's a little overwhelming for an adult, let alone a child.
And-
So I just think we need to be aware and cognizant of what I'm not saying that will happen, I'm just saying what could happen, and the overwhelming amount of stress that it could add.
And I just want to make sure that we're staying focused on what this
That's what
policy
I'm talking
is.
about, I'm talking about that policy.
Okay, so
If things come out at midnight,
do you see like a
I'm
place
just,
you want to change in the policy?
I'm just disgusted. No,
Sure, sure,
Brian
sure.
says no, but I think that's something to consider.
No,
I
I'm
think
just
those
saying
are
that.
teacher levels
policies
of
of-
assignments.
Yeah, this policy is designed, as Aaron was saying, as a kind of a safeguard system of communications between the teacher and the students
Yeah,
overall
it
wide
doesn't-
throughout the
Appropriate
district. How
relationship.
those communications happen between a teacher and students directly between different buildings or different levels is something that's a building communication or a teacher communication that needs to happen. If you're finding overwhelming amounts of work or something like that, that's not what this is designed for. This is designed as a blanket rule of communication hours.
Well, and the point of having the time restraints here is not for the sake of, like, this policy is not intended to deal with student mental health in that important way that you bring up, Ellen. It's intended to say, okay, let's not be doing things so late at night so that we are keeping our relationship professional.
That's the question.
That's right.
Right.
So,
Can I clarify mine a little bit? Doesn't have to-
briefly, yes.
Okay. The assignment was given during the day,
Sure.
and it was due that night at midnight, where in a normal,
I have a feeling that it was probably like available to be turned in up until midnight, but that has to be a teacher level issue. And I would definitely, I very much agree with Dr. Mayer. I would
Yeah, it needs to
say
go back to
it's got to go back to the teacher level to be addressed in situ, right, first. And so that kind of takes us outside of what, but again, I know, I definitely understand why you're thinking like, oh, this is the topic, right? Yeah, but, okay, other points of concern, questions?
No.
I think Harry called the question.
No, I wasn't.
No? Oh, okay. I thought that had already happened and I ran right over
Yeah, I
it.
thought we voted on this already.
No. We voted on the change, and then I looked over at Linda and said, don't we need to circle back
We got to
around
vote on it twice.
on the whole
Vote
policy?
on the whole policy.
Okay.
Harry moved to accept the
And
amendment.
then in order to-
Now we're going to go ahead and vote on the whole policy as amended. All right, so the motion on the floor now is to accept the policy as amended. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you very much. Okay, and here we're going to adopt the regular agenda. I know of one change. Ellen, are we going to go ahead and make that change?
Matt and I have talked about it, I think we're fine.
Oh, okay,
I mean,
so no change. Okay, cool.
Can't believe it.
Are there any other requested changes?
No.
So moved.
Well, okay, we got a motion. How about a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Any opposed? Cool. Let's move right on to the reports. Dr. Lorenz.
Just have 3 or 4 things tonight. We are working out the final staging for the fiber project. The material is in a rental facility here in town. They were just waiting on the temperature to warm and the mud to go away just a little bit. They'll be doing a walkthrough with the tech department to see where all the bases are going to be landed at. That's coming up fairly soon. So I'm anticipating this spring we'll be over at the high school beginning that project fairly soon. The sod project, we had it's close. We sent it back after speaking with the lawyer. We had just a couple of tweaks that we need to put into the contract, into the 101 contract. They've started adding pieces about anti-Semitism and one other piece that wasn't in the 101. So we're really just down to fine-tuning that, and then we'll be, again, as soon as the mud goes away and they can get some heavy equipment on there, we'll be moving on the sod project fairly soon.
do you think that will be during school?
Um,
The only reason I ask is because you're going to have athletes outside, and so you have high school and college athletes that are going to be out there, so will we have to wait on that, or? And they have they have 2 home events at least scheduled out there.
We can, at our discretion, we can start it whenever.
Okay, just curious.
I'm open to suggestion on that. I don't have I just assumed that we wanted to go on it as soon as possible, but if you want to wait till,
I do have a question on that. How
Yes.
safe is it for the kids to be on that field anyway in the condition that it is in? So you're talking about twisted ankles and things like that. We probably don't want our students out there on the actual football field.
I don't think it's too bad in any area except the south end. But I don't think you have any kids, I mean, your athletics right now aren't gonna be in the middle of the field.
Yeah, that's the only concern. I mean, I get the heavy equipment coming in, but no
Yeah.
matter what, if we're having anything out there, we do want to keep people off of that certain area because
Yeah.
we do not want to have any liability of any incidents.
Yep. Yep.
am I hearing that we want to delay start?
No.
I believe what you're hearing is that we just want to be cognizant of athletic events or things that we already have scheduled for use in that space. And if we maybe need to look at going a little bit later or delaying something a month or so so that we give people the opportunity to use the space that we have. Also, we may look at doing some collaborative things with other areas that we have. When we weren't able to play football, we asked Valley if we could possibly use some space. We could.
They don't have a place to, they don't
No.
have a place to do a track, they use ours.
I was gonna say, we're talking about track, right? Not grass use.
Right, we're talking about
Right.
track use.
And so that goes back to just, if there is a way to be able to work, then we're, around those schedules or in that certain area. And as long as there's not heavy equipment out there while the kids
Yeah.
are out there, I think you can make a good management decision of what's right and what's wrong.
I know by changing the curbing on there, you're gonna actually be doing some demolition to the track itself, correct?
Hold on.
Oh, sorry, we're double up.
Yeah, we can't hear.
Track meets.
Yeah, he asked me what dates. We
Go
just
ahead.
need to communicate with Missouri Valley too, just so they know that there's gonna be equipment out there, so they're not.
And what I was saying was also with the replacement of the curbing, then that's going to affect the lanes as well and the safety there. So if we need to push back another month or possibly after towards the end of the season, then we just need to be cognizant of that so we can give our athletes a chance to practice and utilize that space.
Yep.
Good. Yeah, that's fine. So that's the fiber, that's the sod. The boilers at Beaker, we repaired some damaged parts. We had, there was a gas flow issue that was causing some of the issue. I don't know if it was from the meter or from when but we weren't getting the level of pressure that we needed for those boilers. That was some of the issue. It wasn't all the issue. There's 3 boilers down there. One of them was cracked and leaking water back by the firebox in a place it shouldn't have been. So I know we've got problems up in there. We took one down. So the system doesn't have independent shutoff valves, so you can't bring one offline. You have to bring them all down. And so we were having trouble with a couple. We couldn't get enough. We weren't getting but 30 or 40% capacity on a couple of them. We brought one down, cleaned it up, got it going, got it in pretty good shape. That was a couple of day or so before the cold was to come, and I said, we're not going to bring any more down. We got things running, things were moving, but the cold, the one that we worked on, we got it back up. We got some pretty good percent, but the other 2 never regained. And the one just wasn't enough to overcome when we got so cold. So we got in the middle of it, and then we were shut down for cold anyway. We went ahead and brought the system down, basically worked on the other couple, and then got them back up in better performance shape. We did. So we basically were cleaning out the heat exchangers, the igniters, the gaskets, trying to scrub out the parts that was causing some of the issue to get us back going again. In order to do it effectively, if we're going to try to salvage these older boilers, we're going to have to take them back apart this summer. I know that we almost lost one of the igniters when we were taking it out, and I found out later the igniter was about $8,000 or $9,000, so we almost stripped it out, trying to get it out and back in. The systems are about 15 years old. I talked to Dr. Mayer. She thinks we can get CARES money for that. If our intention is to stay in the Beaker for longer than 10 more years, I would suggest that we try to push forward and bring on 3 new boilers over at Beaker and get them in a system that is basically set up a new system where we can independently shut them off and bring one offline and work on it. In full capacity, 2 of those boilers will handle that building. But we had only one, it was close to full capacity, and two, less than half capacity. So that's what was the struggle, and then we hit that cold. So I would suggest, if that's the intention to stay in Beaker for an extended period of time, that we advance on the opportunity to see what the cost would be, get some bids for seeing what it would cost us to bring 3 new boilers, probably relocate it a little bit to clean. It's really, I don't know if you've ever been down in there, but it's really wedged. It's really wedged in there tight, and it's hard to get around and work on any of it. So,
It's the old coal chute, wasn't it?
yeah, well, we're probably looking at taking it back near the old coal chute, because they put it up on a shelf area up there, and they really packed all 3 in there tight, and it was a real struggle getting in there to work on them as much as we had to do. And we're looking at, if we went in to repair them, just knowing that we'd have to put new igniters on starts off at 10 grand. I'm pretty confident we'd be over half the cost anyway of a new boiler for each one by the time we got done cleaning them, restripping them out and redoing them. So I think it's probably the right time. If that is ever, unless anyone has any questions on that, I will move forward with bids here this spring. It'll be something we'd have to do over the summer anyway, but
I support that.
Definitely, yeah.
All right.
Especially if we can put it under CARES money.
Oh, yes.
And we don't know yet if we are
Possibly.
getting CARES money, but if we do, one of the 4 big umbrellas is ventilation, efficiency, and airflow. So this would be
Falls right there.
more than eligible for that.
Well, either way, we're gonna need it sooner or later, so
Right.
we might as well get on it.
Correct.
Last couple things, Troy did mention to me that he's gotten an additional 400 K95 masks in, so we're ahead of need for K95 masks right now. And the last thing, transportation, the bus inspections are coming March 4th, just FYI. So that's always a big day they've really been working hard, they really worked right through that, like plowed rolling right through that cold snap, bringing 2 buses in at a time, thawing them out, keeping one thawed out. It was quite a mess out there when those buses are stuffed, but Vicente, he's a beast, man. He just keeps working through them. So we're feeling good, but that's coming up March 4th. So that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
Did you say something earlier about the boiler at Eastwood?
So, yeah, we've got, the boiler at Eastwood was shutting off on us. It's still running, and when it's up, it's handling us fine. I don't know how much boiler we can bite off at one time. We've got a little bit of boiler issue over at Southeast too, so it's kind of pick your poison. I'm just trying to work my way around to the worst first, and so far at Eastwood, it's just been a matter of occasionally we've had to restart once it restarts, and the same thing's happening in Southeast. Usually that's a first indicator of bad things to come when the more frequently you have to restart. In the biggest part of the cold, didn't have the problem at Southeast this time, but did have a problem at Eastwood, had to restart a couple times. But we had people on duty over the weekends and nights to make sure that because that's what happened. And we took, on all of our systems that are electronically controlled, 95% of the year, everything's controlled, both heat and cold, just to save us dollars to shut down by 5 o'clock or go to, I guess not shut down, go to a conserve mode. And we finally, we had to just leave Eastwood and Beaker. Well, I just had them turn them all. When we were in the middle of that cold snap, we just left everything on through the night, so we didn't, because there was these older buildings, their loss of heat is so bad because of energy efficiency, that if you shut down for any period of time, the lug to get back up in the morning, we couldn't keep up. So but yeah, Eastwood is definitely on my radar too. It's the next worst after Beaker.
With that boiler, we've had problems with that for years.
Yeah.
I remember I had a welder come in, crawl inside it, and re-weld it because it seems to leak. Same boiler, I'm pretty sure we're talking about.
And Eastwood's along that same line. We've been up and down and inside and out of that one too.
Yeah.
So, a lot of boiler issues.
We've had Eastwood problems for a long time. Then, is
Broken
that
my
what you're
day.
saying? That's what I was going to ask, is how many times, is it just this year you've been restarting a lot, or have you done it
No.
multiple years,
A lot of
obviously?
years.
There was a little more frequency right there in that 2-week period when it was so cold, because it was really lugging it. But But the Eastwood one, seems like we have to restart it a couple of times a year. Or not the Eastwood, the Southeast. The Eastwood one, normally it's 3 or 4 times a year, and it just happened a few more times here during this cold snap than we normally have, so. But we're closing in on that, just trying to get systems up to date in the worst places first, so. Who knows, we may go down and we may not have any choice, and we may just have to go to it. But I'll have some good bids in here. Once I get these 3 systems set up, we'll be able to know relatively close what it's gonna take for a single system like one of those other buildings, so.
I was gonna say, if you're sending out requests, I mean, it may be worth it to throw an alternate on there for.
I can just
For
have them,
Eastwood
I can
as
have them
well.
bid it out so that we're ready in case we want, if we happen to have luck with CARES, or there happens to be in case there happens to be some money laying around that nobody knows what to do with.
I'd like to point out on Eastwood, even Northwest, Benton, there's individual boilers, 1 per building that I know of, unless they got more since I left. But if that boiler goes down in the winter, this school don't open, period.
Yep.
Can't have our kids in there freezing, so.
Any other questions for Dr. Lorenz? Thank you, Dr. Lorenz. You're fine. Got to help with an assist. Next up, we have the superintendent reports.
In a minute, I'm going to talk about the calendar, and I believe, I sent the calendar out to everyone, but here are some copies. It's 2-sided, option 1 and option 2, if you need it. Feel free.
I'm not sure which is mine,
Thank you.
One is the full 30 hours, 2 is the one with the last day in the full time.
You know, when we look at the state of education in our nation and in our community, things are different now. We have a new normal we're living with, and I'm hoping that we get back to the old normal one of these days. But with the pandemic has come some true problems that we weren't really expecting. We weren't expecting the pandemic at all, but one of the saddest things about what's happening, and this is across the nation, this is not just in Marshall, it is absolutely across the nation and probably across the globe. But school reopening is pitting groups against each other. And it's not necessarily that they are mad at each other. They're passionate about what they want for their children. And that is absolutely understandable. They're passionate about what they want for their work setting. And that is absolutely understandable. So I don't have the answer. I'm just saying that this is a situation here that we're facing in our community, but we're facing it all over the nation. Research has indicated recently that teenagers and young adults seem to be the most hard hit emotionally and mentally right now, is what the research is saying. But also when I think about teachers, I heard this on a education podcast the other day. One of the women there said, have you ever been so busy driving that you forget to get gas? And sometimes that's the way our teachers' day is. They're so busy trying to make sure that kids are getting what they need and they're there for the kids that sometimes they forget to fill up on what they need. So we must take care of our teachers, and we have them in mind also. One thing that has been kind of confusing, and it's been very confusing for me, thank goodness I have Diane Gillespie in an office right next to me, but one of them is the DESE-led AMI, Alternative Methods of Instruction, and AMI Extended, or AMI-X. There is a difference. AMI is for weather and emergencies. If there's to be 36 hours built into our calendar for this, and we have a good example last week. We used all of our AMI days. So if we have to miss if a boiler goes down, if we get a big blizzard, we will be making up those days because we're past our 36, or not past, but we are at our 36-hour limit. AMIX has been days that are all distance days due to COVID. That is something different that's very well regulated, it seems to me, by DESE, and we have had to, of course, when our school was closed down, we had to petition to the state to use AMIX days. So that's the difference between the two. Let's see, yes, we are out of those days, okay. So our returning to learning plan. Now in the plan itself, and this is not necessarily a recommendation, I met with the administrative team and they have recommendations for the board. But this is what the returning to learning plan says about our situation now. The numbers indicate a transition into phase 2. Now, phase 2 is a 4-day school week with Wednesday, all distance learning, special services, teacher collaboration. The high school, Marshall High School, is on an A-B schedule to achieve social distancing, but they are taking requests for students to be in the building and attend school 4 days a week. Here is what the administrative team has recommended to the board. The elementary and middle schools will remain in person 4 days a week and Wednesday at a distance. That's what they're doing now. And MHS, we do want the students to come back, and we want them to come back for as much as possible. The Marshall community, then we just want to make sure that we all understand that we can't follow the CDC guidelines for social distancing. So I was listening to another podcast this morning saying that many schools are open. Many schools cannot achieve social distancing. The mask mandates are therefore very important, but we have to understand that social distancing won't happen. Lunches will have to return to normal, and transportation will pretty much have to return to normal if we bring all of our kids back into the building for 4 or 5 days a week. They continue with their recommendation, asking the board if they would like to provide a new plan for teachers, staff, and administrators so that we do have a definite path to follow. But within the plan must be, after we open, how do we stay open? What do we do in case of many quarantines? Students will not be able to change to distance learning. Right now, we have 275 students in distance learning. Students can't jump back and forth into.
That's only for high school and middle school, elementary can go out.
True, that is true, thank you. That is for high school and middle school.
And is 275 our district number total?
Yes.
Okay, so that doesn't really break down between the elementary, middle, or high school?
122 at the high school, 82 at the middle school, and then the rest of pre-K through 4th grade. I'm sorry, I can't break that down by building.
One more
You're-
time,
you're
you
fine.
might have some on your list.
That was 122 high school, 82?
122 high school, 82 or 84 middle school, sorry, 84, thank you. And then the remaining are at pre-K through 4th grade.
Okay, thank you.
I've had a request to look into the possibility of a 4-day school week for Marshall Public Schools. And I've got some great students who are here doing some very high-level work, and I asked them, because I know that they're so capable, to give us a report and enlighten us on a 4-day school week. So do you want me to pull that up?
Would you?
Uh-huh.
That would be great, thank you.
We're not even back in school, and I was talking about 40.
I was wondering where I thought she was gonna point on the screen for us.
I'll be the.
They need to be-
Just make sure you name yourselves.
But this is only 40. Yeah.
Sorry.
This is over.
We do have a handout for you, but because we teach for a living, you don't get it until we're done.
So
See you
Is that how it
later.
works in class?
We want to pay attention to what we have to
Because I would read ahead.
Meeting just started.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't have the sound hooked up.
It's not.
It's not a video.
It's a PowerPoint.
I'm trying to get it slid over to the other side.
Nothing else shared with me.
Do you want me to download?
Technical difficulties.
There it is.
Oh, there we go.
Oh,
Oh, there we go.
I don't know what I did over there. And where's my mouse?
That's good enough, right there. Does it go down like this?
Just go to present on the top.
What's
The white button next to the share, yellow?
Something we're gonna do now.
Sorry, right there?
Yes.
Not there.
Next to the share.
No,
Right there.
I'm sorry, I feel like I'm going left-handed here, I can't. There we go.
Very good.
All right. Well, my name is Whitney Thompson, and this is, I'm sure you know, Mindy Coslet. And we are students, but we're students at Mizzou, and we are getting our superintendency. That's what we're doing right now. I saw, Aaron, you kind of look like students, like we're students. That's us. I saw you looking for the students. That's us. So we were asked to get some information about a 4-day school week. So we just kind of gathered some information that we were able to find online, and also we had a couple contacts that we also utilized. So if you want to go to the next slide, Dr. Mayer, please. Thank you. All right, 20% of Missouri's public school districts have officially adopted a 4-day school week as of this year. So that's the percentage. And here's just some basic overview information about a 4-day school week in Missouri. So right now, over 100 districts in Missouri have adopted the 4-day school week. Most of those school districts are small, rural school districts. But recently, more suburban and urban districts have begun to adopt the 4-day school week.
So it's really exploded in the past few years. Actually, it started in 2010. The very first school district went 4-day school week, and then by 2017, there were 25. In 2018, there were 33. It doubled in 2019 with 61, and actually at the beginning of this school year, another 41 districts adopted 4-day school week, and that was all separate from COVID. So there's 105 that this is the way they operate all the time, and then of course this year there have been a lot more districts that have done either straight 4-day with a day off or something like we have done with 4 days and then a distance day. But there are right at about 105 districts in Missouri that are all day or adopted 4-day school weeks. Sorry, let me go ahead. DESE does allow this. This was what was happened in 2010. So you're allowed to have a calendar of 142 days, which is 4 days a week. That you still have to meet the minimum 1044 hours, and the minimum you can have in a school day is 4 hours, and the maximum instruction in a day is 8. So if we were to adopt this, if we did an 8-hour day, it would still be 1136. We'd be way over the 1044. Most districts opt for a 7.5 to 7.7 hour school day.
All right, so we found some pros and cons of a 4-day school week. So some pros up there. Attendance is definitely higher. Kids tend to miss school less, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that in a second. Educational benefits, potential financial savings, student and teacher morale, reduced discipline referral frequency, and potential recruitment strategy, which that bottom one seems to be the biggest hit from what we've talked to are people that are currently working in a 4-day school district. So with the attendance, many students and staff miss days due to appointments and other engagements. So having 1 day off a week, that is, you're going to be off on Monday every week, kids are able to schedule appointments, teachers are able to schedule appointments, and attendance is able to stay higher. So.
Cost savings tend to be realized through less sub-pay. So not only is there a day for kids, but it's a day for your staff to do any of those things that they need to do. So you end up having less subs. And then with the 5th day, you save on transportation costs. So those tend to be the two places that they actually save money. The 5th day becomes your professional development time for teachers. So instead of taking a day away from students, teachers would just come in once a month for a 5th day and to work a 5-day week. And then it tends to be the response that we got from the people that we asked. Most of the time, the rural districts went with the 4-day week because they can't match the higher pay of the larger districts around them. So they would say, okay, well, maybe we're going to pay you $10,000 less, but you only have to work 4 days a week. So they seem to have less turnover, although there isn't like really hard data. Nobody really seems to collect that kind of stuff. It's more of just of a sense in those districts.
Ready?
Some of the things that make a 4-day week maybe less appealing is there is the possibility for adverse effects for your most vulnerable students. Districts that move into this have to have a plan for those kiddos. There's a few long-term studies to show the effect on student achievement, and those that do exist tend to maybe conflict. There's either like no effect or maybe there's some gain, nobody really knows.
Struggle for parents to find childcare. Right now, that's really important. I know a lot of parents have mentioned that even with our Wednesdays out, that childcare is a big deal. So I think it would be something to think about if we were to go this way. What could we do to offer something for those kids, somewhere to go so they're not just out there by themselves. Possible increase in juvenile delinquency, that kind of goes with what I'm talking about. So sometimes kids need that 5-day interaction so they have someone touching them, eyes on them. So, and then lastly, increased length of school day may be difficult for younger students. And that was the one thing that both of us talked to our 4-day-a-week district people, and that was the only thing really that they had to say negatively, was that the elementary school students tended to not be as successful as the middle school and high school students, because it's just a long time to be at school for those little guys. So, and that's all we have, and we have a little handout for you guys as well, kind of just summarizing everything that we talked about.
Thank you, good job.
I know.
So, yeah. So I guess to finish up that portion of my report, we don't have to discuss it now, but I do think that if we want to move forward and investigate the possibility, then there are several things, and it takes quite a while to put this type of thing in motion. And one of the first steps is getting a finger on the pulse of the community, the students, the teachers, the parents, of course, to see what is really viewed as important and what everyone involved would want. So if that is something that the board wants to consider, then if you want to shoot me an email, I can then gather some more information.
Can we pause here for any discussion, any
Yeah.
questions?
Yeah,
any
that'd be
thoughts? Discussion, comments, thoughts, questions? In response to this?
I think that was a good presentation to actually, I know we had talked briefly just amongst ourselves a few times about a 4-day and how it could be so cost saving, but mental health and with the students, I think they brought up some very good concerns that, in my opinion, based on this, it doesn't look like a positive thing for our students or some of our families. This is definitely something that you would leave to the community to have them put their input in, somehow reach out and put their thoughts in if we want to even consider something like this.
It seems very ambiguous as far as pro and con and what we're actually going to end up with or what kind of results we could get. Of course, we can look at energy savings, those kind of other things that are pretty easy to calculate, but the other hidden factors that you're looking in there, like childcare, we already know is going to be a problem, or, you know, some of those other factors that'll play within our community, and will be a lot to look at for sure.
One thing that was mentioned too that we should have said, but on the days that we're not at school, there's still going to be, especially at the high school level, there'll probably still be sporting events going on at the high school level, so the school's still gonna be open, so you're still gonna have that cost of having your school, available to people, so you're gonna have to pay for lights, utilities, whatever,
Right.
people to be there as well, so we should have done that as well.
With this? Okay. All right. I do think that at the beginning, 4-day school week was considered, this is a way to save money, and that has been found that that probably is not the biggest reason. The biggest reason for schools to go to a 4-day school week, frankly, is teacher recruitment. So it is something for us to consider. Okay, so I asked you and typed up a resolution from MSBA concerning COVID sick days and the resolution for those for our employees. This is a, oops, I'm sorry. There we go. Oh,
Yeah, that was it. It said sick days resolution. Isn't that what we're?
no, it is.
Oh,
This-
the
no.
content of it is not.
That didn't transfer.
Okay.
Okay, I know enough about it that I can speak to it. We had a resolution where our employees were given 10 days of, they did not have to use their sick days, they did not have to use their personal days if they were quarantined or had to miss school because of of COVID, because of a quarantine or the onset of the disease itself. The problem has come to the front force, however, that we have some individuals who are now on their 4th quarantine. We have several, I believe Dawn told me that there have been 120 people take COVID days. And I don't have the number of people who are out of those 10 days, but I believe it's like 30. So I am asking the board for thoughts. Should you consider allowing me to waive that 10-day limit? And if the quarantines or if the missed days are because of school-based days missed from COVID, then those days would be waived. So that's my question.
We did speak, I spoke on this briefly when we talked about it, that if,
Right.
because we have a quarantine, when we quarantine, they are forced to be home because the employer told them they needed to go home to be on quarantine. So this was that gray area that we talked about. Now, if it wasn't school-related being told to go home, then that's a different situation. But as far as us as employers, we should probably pay out to take care of those employees that we forced to go home due to the circumstances.
And I will say that because of the crazy way that the school year has turned out, we are not over budget for paying for sick days, or we're not over budget, and we have very few subs. So it's not that it has, right now, that it's going to affect us negatively, financially, that is. We have, since the resolution was passed, we have tightened up our requirements. Now there must be medical documentation that the individual is quarantined or is ill with the disease or is caring for someone that is ill. So every form that now is turned into the office has documentation stapled to it.
Well, it's no more fair if they catch it here in our school district at their work. We should be fair and give them a break, period, so.
I mean, I would support you to have the power to do that.
Yes, me too.
It's your best judgment. If we're gonna send people home because,
It's not.
Right.
I thought we had already granted it. That was one of the concerns I had when it was already your decision to be made. My only question was, how do you determine between
Yes.
that got it school-related and somebody who, that's a tough decision.
And that
to
is
make.
tough, because we do have to have some type of proof that it's school-related. It's not that I went to a family wedding and this happened. But,
But if your classroom is being quarantined and you're telling them to go home because
That's correct.
then we know it is. I mean,
correct.
there are certain circumstances where you know, and if somebody has COVID, then you pay out. It doesn't matter, we don't know where you contracted.
I am not at all suggesting that I want to be the COVID police.
Right.
That is absolutely not what I
It's a
want to
mess.
do. And we haven't had any doubt, there hasn't been any kind of questions when people turn in these documentations as to whether they are valid.
So you have 30, what was the number again? I'm sorry.
Well, and those aren't necessarily 30 individual people, but they're different. They are 30 instances where they are over 10 days.
Okay, so it could be over a day, over 5
Correct.
days.
It could be-
Everything varies. We don't have accurate numbers to know what that is.
Correct.
Okay.
It could be 20 days, it could be 2.
Okay,
And we've still got 3 months left.
and we still have 3 months left.
And I know that we aren't there yet in the agenda in terms of voting on this,
Okay.
Dr. Mayor,
Yeah.
but did you have specific language on this that you wanted us to vote on? Because after all, this is, I mean,
Once you get
it's our governing how you make decisions, and so it's important that we have language that is supportive of you and is not ambiguous.
I believe that the language in the resolution can stand. It would be just granting me the right to give a waiver.
Okay.
Thought we'd already done
Do we,
that.
do we need to vote on that, or just?
We just talked about it.
No,
Later
Given
on,
it on
we're
top
gonna
of
vote on
the,
it.
we haven't given it on top of the 10 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
We gave her that discretion for the 10,
Oh, that's
All
for
right.
the 10 days, excuse me, but we have not given her,
That's
we have
right.
not given her any communication past that 10 days. We discussed it, we talked about it when it became a reality, which
Okay.
quickly hit us.
Next
Quickly,
month, here we are.
quickly.
So that's correct. It is later on in the.
Yeah, well, in terms of voting, but yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know if you'd given us specific language that you felt comfortable with, so, but we can hash that out when we get down
Okay.
there, okay?
Speaking, moving on rather, the calendar options are here. I did send them out to everyone in the district. The calendar is almost exactly the one that the CTA did send to me and recommend to me. We in the central office looked at the Wednesdays. Those were, the Wednesday early outs were the differences between the two calendars. And we do have in the option 1, the calendar with the every Wednesday early out, and we do have specific plans for those Wednesdays. So, and these are things that we have been working on. They are well in place, and the time will be used very well. I am confident about that. But option 2 is every other Wednesday early outs. So that's what the board needs to vote on, unless you can look at these dates and there's a problem with any of them. This is what the CTA requested.
So option 1 was the CTA? Was it option 1?
What was CTA?
They're both CTA.
They're both, okay.
One has every Wednesday, one has every other.
I saw that.
That's the only difference.
And I'm going to say, as a parent who doesn't have any kids in the district anymore, but looking at the calendar, if I were scheduling with younger kids, I would like the option 1 because it's more consistent on your Wednesdays for planning. I know that those 2 months I don't have any early outs, but every Wednesday I do unless I have conference. As a parent, that would be easier for me to juggle than guessing if my kid's getting in or out of school to
I
pick up.
agree with that. For us, we've always said, and we still believe strongly, that adult learning is critical for student achievement. So those Wednesdays would be dedicated to adult learning. I think Diane wants to speak.
Oh, hi, I recognize Ms. Gillespie.
Thanks, Dr. Mayor. I would like to point out that this year we have not put any emphasis on curriculum revision or assessment revision, just because of the current year we are in. So that is why I feel that when Dr. Mayor asked my suggestion of having a Wednesday where that is dedicated I made the recommendation that having one of those funded be reoccurring for assessment and curriculum revisions, because I'm just gonna be honest, I've not asked teachers, if they've done it, it's been on their own time, not a request from this position.
So to reiterate into a nearby microphone, Ms. Gillespie was talking about the need to have, it was assessment and curriculum revisions continue on, since they were kind of in a difficult way this past year.
I wanted to end my report with celebrations. It's nice to talk about the good things that are happening in our district. Our Marshall High School athletics continue to be as brilliant as they are talented in their areas. 69 of our athletes made an all-conference academic team, and 14 made the all-state academic team. So that's tremendous. In the Career Center, the SCCC, DECA has earned the Thrive status for the third year in a row. This is building lasting partnerships within the community and the DECA chapter. And 3 of our FBLA students at district contest have advanced to state. Also, the Luck of the Irish is coming up. Those of you who have students who are seniors. The primary school, the Spainhour Primary School grand opening, we hope will be this spring. That's a very optimistic hope, I know. It may have to be next fall, but one of these days, we're going to dedicate this building. Preschool graduation is May 20th. 8th grade completion celebration is May 22nd, and the high school graduation is May 13th. 23rd, excuse me. The seniors are all going.
Just let them out 10 days early, but they're gone.
Very well.
Anybody have any questions for me?
Oh, we're talking about next year's.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, we're going to move on to additional program reports, points of interest and questions. So let me open it up. Anybody have any questions, comments, concerns, et cetera? I wanted to make sure to highlight some of the CTA report. Specifically, CTA made a donation to the Buddy Pack program of almost $2,000 this year. Also included was a donation of $100 from central office staff. So, Buddy Pack program, as the report explains, meets a very real need in our district, and we are honored to do our part to help. So that was pretty cool. And CTA also wants to thank the amazing custodial and maintenance crews that worked to keep the buildings operating during the deep freeze. CTA will be providing each custodial staff member with a gift card from McDonald's and a small token of thanks. So that's very cool as well. Other comments, questions, concerns, things to highlight? In any of the rest of the program reports? If not, go right ahead.
So, Ms. Wise, our PDC overall, I know that we have to have a certain number of PDC hours within the calendar year. Are we on track to hit that number with our beginning PDC days that we had at the beginning of the year? And since we've had kind of distance day on a Wednesday, are we still going to hit our number of hours allotted?
That's a good question, especially since this year is so different. Yes, we, as a district, usually provide 15 hours, which is plenty for the new teachers. The new teachers are the ones that really need to get all their hours. They have a lot of new teacher days that are like in the calendar already. And then we have our district, that's retired, days coming up in March. So that would be that almost 15 and the best for the dyslexia. So unless I'm thinking differently, Diane, it's always been covered and we've always gone above that. Usually our Wednesday days, we just provided a lot of extra. So I understand it feels like we're not providing as much, but all of our beginning of the year PTAs that we had to get ready for discipline learning, it's also were added hours for us.
Yeah, I knew we had added a little time at the beginning of the year, so I thought we would gain a little back, but I know Wednesdays have been a lot of catch-up and devoted towards the school year and keeping it moving, so we haven't had as much PD ongoing, so, okay.
And then we have our January, I think it would have been our January 3rd PD day that we had moved into August.
Mhm.
So we also have those additional hours in addition to the ones that we had already posted out there.
Thank you.
We're required to provide 15 hours.
The 15, right. Mhm.
I did want to pull two things out. Gate, Lori Peel was elected for the 2021 Gifted Association by the Missouri Board of Directors. So the GAM Director of District 9, and also that she was praised as an active leader in our gifted educational field. So I want to recognize her. Also, I want to look at Beaker. I noticed if they do a pie pass as an incentive for the kids, and I like the spirit inside our school district of doing things for the kids to get them excited. And I'd like to be present when they get to do that.
Yeah, and the report from from Beaker is forthcoming. That's next up, so. Other comments, questions, concerns from additional program reports?
I appreciate the reports and the breakdown so that we can see the kids in the building, the attendance, and the distance learners, and how that's really looking. I also appreciated the updates that we did get on the Acellus and how it seems to be really helping your teachers. And so I appreciate being able to read that and feel like we're being good stewards of the district's funds, because I, for one, was not in support of that, but I can see that it's working, so I'm glad that we did that.
Yeah, I am too. Gives me more papers to play with, because my phone's on it.
Okay, well then let's welcome up our principal's report. Just make sure you say your names for the camera, for the people at home.
Can you hear me? Okay, my name is Mrs. Brown and this is Ms. Jacoby. We're principal, assistant principal at Beaker. Thank you for having us. We're going to try to touch on some of the things that were in our board report, but really just that are positive that we're trying to do to make this year, as good as we really can. So Ms. Jacoby is going to talk about student incentives and elaborate on our pie passes and other things that we're doing for our kiddos. So I'm going to hand it over to her.
Thank you again for letting us speak. So one of the things we implemented at the beginning of this year, in addition to our character cards, which coincide with our Pride assemblies that we have quarterly, are positive office referrals. So those go along with our character cards, but those are, the teachers will send those to the office. I'll get those. The kiddos get certificates, and they get a prize. So the parents really like that. The kids really like that. We even continued that during our distance learning, where we would go to the home and/or mail them. So they've really enjoyed that, and that goes along with our character cards that we're already and have been doing. We've been talking with grade levels. Our IC helped come up with a list of ways we can be consistent across grade levels with, student engagement and getting that productivity up. It's been a little bit more challenging this year with COVID and some of the things that we've been able to do with them in the past. So we're asking them to be creative in some ways that we can get that engagement up and, rewards for that positive behavior. Our Pride Assembly, I already talked about that. We have one each quarter. Those obviously look different this year. They're virtual. So those kiddos are in their homeroom watching it. And then they still get their prizes and things like that if their name is drawn in their classroom. So our next one is March 12th, which kind of goes along with what you just already brought up. We're doing something kind of fun with them. Sunday, March 14th is 3/14, so, Pi Day. So we kind of thought it would be fun, since we wouldn't actually be in school on Pi Days, to go along with doing a Pi Pass. So students can earn those for no missing assignments at each of our progress terms, and also no behavior referrals that are sent to the office. Yes, we also did some extras, thank you, for distant learning days, so they could earn extra ones for their attendance, and that was communicated with them. So they turn those into the office with the teacher that they want to see pied, and actually we have some too, Mrs. Brown. So they've really enjoyed that, and then at the end of each of the terms, so Friday I'll come over the intercom and let them know who is in the lead, what teacher, and so they get really excited about that and kind of keeping that positive behavior up. It's helped. So
I just have to
getting their
ask
work in.
about this, because this is fascinating to me. Is there one teacher that gets pied?
They get to choose. so
Per
they're-
grade level.
Per grade level, okay, I didn't get that part, sorry.
Yes. Did none
Wow.
of you guys want to be on there? Do you, anybody? No? Okay. No. So they're really enjoying that. So that's something that we've been doing with them. We did a fun thing second quarter where we were obviously for the Albright Assembly, it had to be sent out second quarter because we were still distanced at that time. And we had the students, it was Lorax, our therapy dog's birthday over that. So we had the kiddos send us in pictures with their pets. And so we kind of put that together and just trying to keep the kids, the student engagement up, trying to still, make sure that school's fun for them and that they're enjoying being there. So I think I talked about most of the positive things that we've been trying to work on and do with kids. We did a lot of home visits during our distant learning time. I'd have to look at my numbers. I think on my log about 144. So we've been really, even though, we were distant, making that contact. So I'm gonna hand it over to Ms. Brown to talk about our MAP Spirit Week that'll be coming up.
One more thing with the pie passes, that was Miss Jacoby and Miss Gass, our instructional coach, that kind of came up with the idea and put it all together and put that in place. So that's been fun. Kids are excited. Teachers are saying they're excited. So that's good. They're putting on a good face. So we do have MAP testing and our DORA testing coming up for our distant kiddos and our in-seat kids. I think we're going to try to do like a Spirit Week the week before, just to review, have some activities about good testing habits. We can build excitement. We can boost staff and student morale. So that's one thing that's going to be coming up. We talk a lot about students and getting them excited. One thing that Dr. Mayer talked about in her presentation was not only feeding them and their mental health, but also our teachers. So one thing that we've tried to do is to recognize our staff and show that we appreciate them and their hard work. We did some drawings in December with some exchange bank money that we received just to give them the things that they deserve. We did Wonderful Wednesdays in January. We had a coffee bar, a Sonic Drink Day, a hot dog day that kind of went along with our Chiefs Spirit Week that we did with the elementary buildings. So I think more than anything, even though this year is different, and that's okay, we're still making it be school. We're still trying to do things that make it feel like home because that's why we're there. So I think sometimes we focus on all the things that are really hard. Everybody's trying to do their best that they can to make it be fun, enjoyable, and learn at the same time. So in the end, there's been so much growth. We talked about those AMIX days for weather. And the amount of learning that we saw happening on those Google Meets was amazing. And we wouldn't be there if we didn't go through what we went through in December. So I just want to point out that sometimes there's, that level of like, this is not where we want to be and it's not fun, but there's growth on the other side. So I just want to point out that our teachers have really come a long way in those lessons, from the first time that they did some of those distant learning lessons, things weren't working, technology and all those things. Whenever we did the distant learning for the weather, some really wonderful things were happening. And we were able to get on there for lots and lots of Google Meets. So it was really good and enjoyable to see that growth. So anyhow, we appreciate your guys' time, and we are almost to fourth quarter, which is exciting. So looking forward to the rest of our year and hope it's successful. So
Cool. Great. Thank you.
Good job. Once again, I want to point out and celebrate our principals. What a dynamic duo these two are. So we appreciate everything that you all do. I know you eat, sleep, drink, pray, dream, middle school children, so we appreciate it.
Okay, we're going to move on to got some information about the Google website.
Okay, so I'm Gina Wise, and I'm representing PDC, and this is Daniel Wright. He has this amazing thing that he wants to share with you that he and his Google team has worked on, so we appreciate the opportunity to share this with you. I have nothing to do with this. However, if you recall from 2019 of December, so December 2019, we had several members of our committee, along with myself in March, that had this amazing goal that we wanted to work on for professional development.
However, COVID has changed the way that looks, and it seems like every month we are trying to go back and revise that. So Diane, being our liaison, noticed something that Daniel has been working on, and she thought that it would mesh along with the things that we have been working towards for our district. All I've done is provide documents and files.
Thank you, thank you. Over here. I can set this down. Well, hello everyone. Daniel right here. Today, I want to show you one of the coolest things we've been working on in our district, which is our brand new Google website. And first, let me say, who does this benefit? It benefits anyone who uses Google. Everyone in our district uses it. It's universal. It's awesome. Our community is using it. We are so excited to have this resource now. So let me show you how to get to it. You go to our wonderful website and go to Staff Resources, Professional Development, and then right here, NPS Google's resource website. And welcome, ooh and ah. So on here, this is a great place for all of our staff to come and check out different resources they can use up here. There's collaborate with Docs, Drive, Jamboard, Sheets, Slide, communicate with Gmail and Meet, organize, calendar, keep, and task, and manage classroom forums and sites. Now, this website is not just for our staff members. We are also building more on it to include our community right here with resources. What's going to be on this page eventually is an awesome collection of resource videos for our community. So my main purpose tonight is to come to tell the school board, to tell our community, what do you need help with in Google? What do you need from us? We will start making these videos so they are accessible for you. Now, we may have been pushed into Google a little bit harder because of COVID, but Google will be here well after we stop using COVID in our everyday language. So I'm really excited to have this resource available, and the way that you're gonna submit some ways is right here on our home. There's a little introduction video there too, right down here. You'll be able to submit any kind of information. What video do you want to have created? Do you need help learning how to do something? What do you need? We are here to help you. Our Google team is awesome. They're making videos, but right now, we don't have anything. We want stuff. So send us things, post it here, and we are so excited to keep on making awesome videos. So, any questions?
The first thing you can put on there is how to change your notifications.
Yeah, we can do that. Well, I'm going to shoot this one back. Right? Submit that right there.
I will. I'll get right on that.
Yes, Diane. Oh. Under the teacher resources, quite a few. I'm going to say 20 roughly.
Gillespie asked how many.
Let's go to my favorite
already.
one, slides. Who doesn't love Google Slides? Oh yeah, thank you, Diane. All of our videos are about some of mine are about 1 minute, about 1 to 5 minutes long. So here we go. Changing layer order, inserting audio, shapes, tons of videos on here. And that's just slides. Gmail has some, not as many, but we want more. So let us know what you need. And as this website grows, Google's always changing. We're going to change this website. There might be an opportunity to incorporate some stuff for student resources on here. So this will be a website for everyone in our community, which is really exciting.
That's awesome. That's great.
Can you show us a video?
Oh, well, I thought there was no sound.
I've got it on.
Ah, Wesley. You're awesome. How about this? I'm going to go to Diane's favorite. I think it's under Docs. Force copy. Yeah, it's a good one. So, we love sharing things and having people. I made this one, I really thought this would be a great one for our administration to use. This is force copy. This is how you force someone to make a copy when you send them a document. So let's play it. Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to force someone to make a copy of a document or a sheet or a slide, a drawing, whatever you want them to force to make a copy of. Now, this is not intended for teacher to students because most times our students are going to be in a Google Classroom and you can make them have their own copy in a different way. This might be a situation where a principal needs all of their teachers to have the same document that they can edit for themselves. So, or maybe even teacher to teacher, or maybe students if you're not necessarily in a classroom. So let me show you how to force someone to make a copy. So up here in the Omnibar, we're gonna go up here and the last word we see is edit. And we're gonna get rid of edit and we're gonna change that to copy. Enter. And now, automatically there it is. It forces them to make a copy. That is how you force someone to make a copy. So send that document out with the copy at the end of that URL, and it'll be good to go. Have a great day, everyone.
Awesome.
Good job, Daniel.
That was good.
Yes, when I saw that, I was thinking a lot about observations and how Diane sends all these observations forms out to principals and making sure one person's not editing the master sheet. So I made that with the administrators in mind.
Cool.
So, thank you all so much. Please, please, please take this away from this discussion. Go and tell us what you need to know. Let us know what you want from us, and we'll start making those videos. Feel free to reach out to me if you have like specific questions or weird questions, because there's no such thing as weird questions. There's probably should be a second half to that, but that's all I have to say. Thank you again.
Thank
That
you.
was awesome.
All right, thank you very much. All right.
We have great people.
Yeah.
Next up, under old business, we have the MPS 2020-2025 initial strategic plan approval. I do not know who I'm handing that over to.
I believe we have a small group for each committee.
Wouldn't that be Dr. Mayer?
Okay. I wanted just to go over very, very quickly the DESE strategic plan, the skeleton of the DESE strategic plan, so that we can take a look and make sure that our work in our district, our local district, is aligned to DESE's. And if you look at their strategic plan and their core values, their priorities, you can see that even though the words may not be the same, we are right on track with DESE and what they are committed to: excellence. They're focused on the future. They're dedicated to serving others. And their priorities are early learning literacy, success-ready students in the workplace, safe and healthy schools, educator recruitment and retention. And if you look at our board goals, they do reflect these thoughts and these values. I will send this out. I'm not going to read this all to you. This was work that we did at the beginning of this, probably 3 years ago, when we identified vision statements and then had a district-wide vote to see which mission statement our adults in our district chose as to speak to what our actual mission is. You know, we say often that school culture affects children, but it's adults that shape and maintain it. So it's important for us to be on the same page and to develop our culture so that we can support and encourage each other. It's hard to see these. I will send this out. There are several belief statements here that that during the time that we first started on our strategic plan, and it seems like years ago now because it was years ago, that we came up with belief statements before we actually started honing in on the specifics. So is there a group here with board goal number 1? Okay. I was just going to go through these, and so you can take over while I have this up here if you want to.
Well, as you can see, board goal number 1 is to maintain a safe and supportive environment in Jersey to academic success, confidence, and well-being of all students. I think the key there is all students. That's very, very difficult to do, and it's a challenge that we're willing to accept within our district, and we were, as a committee, we worked together from that point. And so the focus areas, there are 4 focus areas within this goal, and then they're broken down from there into strategies and then action plans, and then we need to get to timelines and evaluation, okay? And a lot of that's gonna have to do with commitment and direction that we want to go as a district. We'll have to prioritize in order to meet the goals, each of the goals. The first area is talks about this physical environment, the safe environment for our students, not only providing it, but maintaining it. The second focus area is to provide and maintain supportive environments. We're speaking a little bit more to the emotional and social point there, as well as focus area number 3, support and improve energy efficiency. So that's talking about our building structures and how we can make them, one, maintain them better, but also move forward with improving the lighting and doorways and such to improve our efficiency. And finally, in focus 4, support and improve academic success for all students. That includes our gifted programs and also our programs that involve intervention for students who are not meeting academic goals. Within each of those areas, we identified 3 strategies, and then for each of those strategies, there were at least 2 action steps or action items that we wanted to put into place. These were developed by a committee of administrators, teachers, as well as community members and students were involved in this. In the beginnings of this actual document and the work of this document began last year. And so some of that's been revisited since then, and this is what we have to present to you. And really what we're looking for is guidance on our next steps. We know this is not a completed document, and so we would like to know from a committee standpoint what we can do next on this goal. And I know you have to listen to the other ones, and so I think it will be the same for all. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm here to represent strategic goal number 2. I have not asked my principal to present because ultimately they're going to have to take this information and write it building level.
Diane, can you go to the microphone, please?
Which is more important to hear your details.
Teacher voice anymore. Anyway, good evening. I'm Diane Gillespie, and I'm here to represent strategic goal number 2. I have offered to present this on behalf of my committee because I know ultimately the admin that's on my team will have to write their own building level plan. So I'm really trying to take their input as we write these strategies and focuses that they can make sure that they can take this to a building level. So Board of Education goal number 2 is Marshall Public Schools will recruit, support, and retain highly effective and efficient teachers, staff, and leaders who find satisfaction in the workplace and are dedicated to the district's missions of excellence. We have 3 focuses under goal number 2. Our focuses are recruit, rehire, and retain highly effective teachers and staff and leaders. Our focus 2 is to develop and support highly effective teachers, staff, and leaders. Sounds the same. We're recruiting and then we're developing them. And then our last one is focus 3 is all staff dedicate efforts to the district's mission of academic excellence and extracurricular involvement. So underneath of those, we have at least 2 strategies along with our action steps like Mr. Wirtz spoke of. Each one, obviously under focus 1 is how do we make sure that we have staff members that are staff and administration that come here and want to stay here. And then also how do we make sure that we are paying them well and all of those things that make people want to be at a job. Focus 2 with the develop and support highly effective teachers, staff, and leaders. That is a lot about our professional development of our teachers and the opportunity to make sure that we're providing them the continuous feedback and evaluation that has been set up and has been in the district for quite a few years now, and to continue to do that through our performance-based evaluation and feedback. Focus 3 is on the academic excellence and extracurricular involvement to meet the mission of excellence, and that is where we really talk about making sure that we have a comprehensive curriculum aligned to appropriate standards. We want to make sure we're auditing that often, and that's one reason those Wednesdays are so important next year to have that opportunity for teachers to do that. And also, we really talked a lot about the implementation of that, and then also making sure that we're recruiting our diverse group of students to participate in extracurricular activities, all the way down to our younger students, giving them an opportunity that it's not just the sports or the activities at high school, but to start offering STEM clubs in the elementaries, a baking class or whatever it is that needs to happen. So those are the things that we are currently considering. This has gone out to our committee that is also made up of teachers. Our student graduated. We have not replaced that student yet. Board members, obviously, community members and parents, and I believe they have seen it 3 times for comments. And so we are ready to move to the next step. If these are okay with the board, we're ready to do our next 2 steps, which is timelines and how will we measure those. And then those will go out to our committee.
Thank you. And that was a really great committee to be working on. I can speak for, I think, both me and Mr. Jakes in saying that was a really productive, it was a great mix of people to be working on that particular section of this with.
I appreciate your feedback, and I feel like the feedback we got back from the committee, we took into, because some of the things that the feedback are building level things, and so we had to do kind of an items of support so that our buildings know that our buildings know that it's a time, that's not something addressed at a district level, it is addressed at a building level, but unfortunately, COVID stopped us from meeting in person, but I still had a lot of feedback that administration has looked at that we have taken in consideration, and I'll look forward. They've been a great committee to work with, so I appreciate the 2 of you serving on it.
Thanks.
Okay, I am here to represent Goal 3. I won't repeat what Mr. Burks or Ms. Gillespie have shared, but our group shares in those sentiments, and we're in about the same place. Goal 3 focuses on Marshall Public Schools will encourage the involvement of all students, families, school employees, and taxpayers, and will work to maintain open communication, cooperation across the school community. So our goal really focused on 3 things. We felt like communicating, cooperating, and involving. So with those, we created 3 focus areas. Each one of those focus areas, we have a strategy to help us hone that in a little further, and then action steps of how we're going to get there. So focus area 1 is maintain open communication and encourage participation with students, families, school employees, and taxpayers. We would like to make this focus on consistent communication through social media in a variety of languages, making sure we are reaching all members of the community and our parents. Our focus 2, maintain cooperation with students, families, school employees, and taxpayers. And so we would like to do that by providing quality customer service to create a culture of community pride and trust. And then, sorry, one-handed paper turning. The last area was to encourage involvement of students. So we wanted to provide an inclusive environment, and we really wanted to empower our student leadership teams and give those opportunities. So we are now looking at how are we going to evaluate these things? How are we going to track them? How do we really make these items tangible, obtainable goals for us? So we've had a really amazing committee that has worked hard on this. And we also are digital, like Diane shared, that our entire group has access to this, can view these. So.
Let me interrupt for just 1 second. If you haven't noticed my PowerPoint, the PowerPoint slides don't translate. So this is the same wording as in Goal 4, and I am sorry, I apologize. A lot of times the text does not translate over. So could you read the board goal number 3, please? Do you have that in front of you?
Yeah, I can.
I'm sorry, I know you read it, but could you read it again for me?
Marshall Public Schools will encourage the involvement of all students, families, school employees, and taxpayers, and will work to maintain open communication and cooperation across the school community. So what I said was, we're focusing on communicating, cooperating, and involving.
Thank you.
So kind of that holistic approach.
That's such an important goal that I didn't want my slide to mess up the message there.
Good evening. I'm Brian Wilcox, an assistant principal at the high school. Mindy and I are here tonight as representatives of our planning group. Our group's focus was the development of a recommended strategic plan around goal number 4 of Marshall Public Schools' previously identified Board of Education goals. Goal number 4 states that Marshall Public Schools will be fiscally responsible with taxpayer money and include any willing community members in short and long-term decisions that are pertinent to the continual improvement of educational opportunities in district facilities. Because of the financial focus of goal number 4, we enlisted the help of several community members who are well-versed in business and finances. These community members include Mr. Scott Fan, Mr. Robbie Fuchs, Mrs. Stephanie Mullins, and Mr. George Porter. These individuals, along with board members Ms. Ellen Lance and Mr. Ed Harper, joined Marshall Public School employees Ms. Mindy Coslett, Dr. Mayer, Ms. Randy Maupin, Mr. Jim Paprick, and Ms. Renee Vaught, and myself to form our team. I would like to take a moment to apologize for the omission of Mr. Harper, Mrs. Mullins, and Mr. Paprick from the initial report that was given to you guys. That was an oversight on my part. As a team, we identified 3 focus areas and several strategies to help us reach our goals within the identified focuses. Our first identified focus was to develop fiscal strength. We feel this can be accomplished through the development of a 10-year plan for facility maintenance and construction. This plan would be guided by an overall district needs assessment based on the compilation of both building level and district level needs. We also believe it is important to identify and explore types of funding that could help MPS build its fiscal strength. In accordance with this plan recommendation, a grant steering committee currently consisting of Mrs. Paulette Baker, Ms. Mindy Coslett, Ms. Callie Dobbins, and myself has begun the initial steps to create a district-wide process for identifying grant opportunities, obtaining assistance with grant applications, and distributing funds. Additionally, in order to sustain long-range fiscal strength, we believe it is important for us to remain committed to maintaining an 18 to 25% fund balance each year. Finally, in conjunction with a 10-year plan for facility maintenance, we believe it would be prudent to form a committee whose sole focus is to discuss the appropriateness of and to focus on building support for a tax levy increase that is aligned with identified district needs. Our second identified focus was to improve fiscal responsibility. We believe to accomplish this, it is important to continue developing and revising building and district level budgets to meet student needs on a yearly basis. We also believe part of being fiscally responsible is utilizing Marshall Public Schools Audit Committee to review our annually completed audit to identify areas for improvement. Finally, I will turn the floor over to Ms. Coslett to summarize the third focus of our recommendations.
Thank you, Brian. Our third focus of focus was to was to establish and maintain trust across the community. And this kind of speaks to the last part where we want to include any willing community members in short and long-term decisions. And in order to do that, we need to have an open relationship with the community, a trusting relationship with the community. So strategy 1 is to communicate clearly and frequently with the Marshall public community. We're already doing that in several ways, OWL alerts, Class Dojo, the website. And we have a couple ideas to expand on that using things like the newspaper, the district PR committee, maybe doing some different things with the website. We also want to increase family, employee, and community involvement. I think a great way that we can start was that long-awaited open house dedication event for SPS. That would be a way for people to come in and see the great things that we're doing. We need to intentionally communicate with all of the members of our community, so we need to kind of put together a group to strategize and brainstorm ways that we can do that more effectively, and to consciously and intentionally develop mutually beneficial community partnerships. I think there's a lot of ways that we can improve, and if we want community members to come in, we can work on that, and we can always get better. So thank you very much.
I'm excited about our strategic plan and the way that it's starting to really come together. It's been a long and winding road, but it has come together so that I think that we're ready to really make some progress here. I would like for the board later on to plan a retreat for several reasons, but also to take a look at this strategic plan. After we get the initial approval, then the board should take a look at the focus areas and look at the action steps, the strategies, and hone those and polish those, so that when we send then the strategic plan to the buildings, we have a very intentional way to move down that path together. So I'm very pleased with the work, and people have worked very hard on this. So It's been a long, long time. We started back in 2018 with our listen and learn tours and our community surveys and our student surveys. So I'm glad we're now enjoying the all of that work into 6 slides. But good job, everyone.
So at this point, we need a motion to approve the MPS 2020-2025 initial strategic plan. Do we have any?
Second.
I'd like to open it up to discussion.
And then discussion. There you
Okay,
go.
thank you. So Dr. Mayor, did you review these? There's a lot of overlapping between the
There
goals.
is. There is. And,
So-
and the committees have not yet come together to look at that. So those are things that we need to do. The initials turned in, and then we and the board need to take a look at and polish those and fit those pieces together. You're exactly right.
So I just wanted to make sure, because there was like 2 or 3 different goals that combined into each other. So I wanted to be sure before they were approved that they were coming to you, that you were weeding those out or rearranging those or removing them where they needed to go. It looks like we're doing double work on some of them. Like some of these committees just did double work. And I'm sorry that that happened, but, or maybe we can combine those thoughts.
I think they
And
can
being
inform
there-
each other, though.
I was gonna say, and also being there in the beginning when we started this, you know, there was no kind of direction for each group necessarily to go. We were kind of given our goal and our heading, and then as we developed it as groups, so I think we kind of bled over into some areas as we kind of just wanted to make sure we were covering a lot of things. So there definitely is room to hone and improve and streamline this down into making sure we stay within our kind of wheelhouses by each goal.
It is very much an initial plan.
So in that case, what are we actually approving tonight for initial strategy? Because if it's not complete, I don't want to approve anything that's not complete. This is a draft.
Well, this is complete. These goals and the
Just setting
focus
the goals
areas.
is what you're asking, not the actual strategic plan?
It's the initial plan that this
Right.
is the initial plan. And then there are steps in building your strategic plan, which would include us as a board sitting down and funneling through and sifting out so that we encourage as a board, Dr. Mayer, how to encourage her groups to manage all of their different.
Did the board previous to us already approve the goals?
Yes.
Didn't that happen? So
In fact, the goals were approved.
I just want to be
as-
very clear what we're asking tonight.
Yeah, I think we do need some clarification on that, because there's some issues I had with it. I went through it carefully, and I sent some comments to Dr. Mayer. But I'm under the impression, we're just saying, go ahead and keep going, and we'll keep working on this as a living document.
The
That's
board
my
goals were
impression.
initially approved in 2016, again in 2018, and then they were revised and adopted again in 2019. So they will be, and it may be that when we start to really work on this and continue to work on it, there may be things in the goals themselves that we want to look at. But that's up to the board, because these are board goals.
Good question.
Call question?
Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? One opposed. All right, and now to move on to the approval of the more than 10 days COVID-related absences. So, Dr. Mayer, we do need some help with wording this, because I don't know what it is exactly that we are, like, how are we going to be wording this? I don't know what even to say. We need a motion to approve. So,
Do you mean beyond giving me the ability to waive the 10-day limit?
so is that what you're saying? So somebody's going to move to ... That's what I'm saying. We need to fill in the blank.
To give, I guess you'd say the superintendent, the authority to waive the limit of 10 days for COVID leave.
Do we want to say that in
Based
relation
on-
to quarantining or based off of quarantining as demanded by the district?
Based on, or based on a school-driven
Yeah.
purpose, a reason. Is that what you meant, Brian? Sorry.
That's where I was going with it, yes, that it's related to the district
Yes.
based on the quarantining principles that we have or the things that are in place. So if we're saying you have to be off work, then we cover it as your employer at that time.
Right. School-related, and we have already made the requirement for documentation, so.
Do we know how many days are a grand total exceeding the 10?
I don't know if we know that.
We don't know that yet. I mean, this is going to be ongoing.
We have an individual who is up to about 25 days.
I know in
These are
Spain,
all-
however, we've had
Oh.
multiple, like you were saying earlier, we've had multiple classrooms that have gone out multiple times. And so that is something that's driven by the district, not necessarily by the teacher, the classroom, or individual. So,
Well, if we're making everyone in a classroom quarantine because of one positive or one quarantine or whatever we're doing, that absolutely cannot not pay them.
That's
I
what,
mean-
that's the gray, that's an absolutely truth, but what happens is,
Quit doing it completely.
I've been exposed, I think if we did the quarantining, the answer is yes. If we did not, and it's excess from, oh, I can't, I've been around someone who is, that's a different case.
We just say school implemented quarantine?
Yes,
Due to a
school implemented, I can agree
quarantine?
with that.
I could agree with that.
But still, if it doesn't, you're not going to be able to prove where they got it. If somebody comes
No,
out
we're
and
not saying got it.
says,
It's not about getting it, it's about if you're quarantined by the school.
period, then if you're
But we're not
in
talking about
contact, or
positive.
if you get it, or
But
if you
we-
tell someone that you're a contact, then you're going to be paid for it. So it doesn't matter where that's at, because your employer's
We're
going
not
to
talking
say,
about if you're positive.
Me either.
You're talking about if,
I don't think it
so,
matters where they,
I'm going to recognize Mrs. Brown,
Create a scenario for
just to create a scenario for you.
Here, Paula.
Sorry. It just gets really confusing. So if you think about that, the way it was first semester, it was the 10 days, and then I believe it went to using 10 sick days and then 2/3 pay. So we had some people that exhausted those 10 days, then used sick days already before Christmas, you know what I'm saying? So then we have people who have used 10, 15 sick days, so then they get exposed again, personal or school, then they're out of sick days. You get what I'm saying? So it's just it was a different umbrella then than it is now. So I don't know if you can like backdate and give those sick days back, and then if it's, you know what I'm saying? So it just is, it's a hard line to draw, but we do have people, I have someone in my building 4 times, 3 out of the 4 were school reasons why they were quarantined, you know, and now they're running out of sick days because they had to use them before due to school ones, and now it's a personal one. You get what I'm saying? So it's a tough go, and I just wanted you to know that we have some people who use them already, we have some people who haven't used any.
So it sounds like we need a term for quarantine related to exposure at the workplace, at school? School-related. I've got,
School-related quarantine.
if your employer told you to be quarantined, we should
so that's
pay.
going to be everything.
If that was our direction.
That's going to be everything.
which,
And that's going to be everything. I mean, that's going to be every if they're a contact and if they're a contact wherever they're at, and that their physician says that they were a contact and they need to quarantine, that's our policy, so then they're paid. I'm not arguing that we shouldn't. It's not going to be just an exposure at school.
so you're saying that we need, and this is, I'm going to say all this, and there's really a question mark at this.
I'm saying that we need to follow the governor's guideline on quarantining and DESE and DHSS from months and months and months ago on quarantines. So we don't have this problem, we don't break our district, so we can give this money to our employees and our teachers when it comes time at the end of the year for next year's benefits. If we spend it all now, there is not going to be any. That's what I'm saying, and I'll say it loud and clear.
Yeah, that's one of my concerns.
So, I think it's time that we really take a really strong hold on what the governor and DESE and DHSS have been saying for at least 2 months, and look at our quarantine policy, and is it time that we follow what they're saying? Maybe there was a reason to their intelligence that we didn't necessarily see in the beginning, and maybe we see it now.
But you know what, it's not fair to them people, like Paulo's saying, it's not fair. If I'm quarantined, I'm in this school, and they quarantine me, we as a board, we as a district
Sure.
should pay them. I don't give 2 hoots about how much money it costs. Carol's already
Maybe we shouldn't
addressed
quarantine as
that.
much as what we're saying.
Well, it's not our fault, you know what I'm saying? But if
Our
it's
policies are our
school-related,
fault.
we need to pay the people. End of line.
Well, our policies are our fault. Our practices are our responsibility. So it does come back to what we're doing and how we're doing it.
Are you saying there's something wrong with our policy?
Well, what
Maybe
we're talking about-
Procedures.
I don't know if it's a policy,
Correct
but
that,
it's
procedures.
Well, what we're talking
procedure.
about are two different things. What we're talking about are paying people that we're telling to go home. And also, are we looking at maybe we should change our quarantine procedures? Because right now, we've been following the CDC guidelines, we're letting an entire building out. But DESI and some of the other guidance that we've had is saying the 6 feet or other
Right.
things, which we've had a lot of trouble with trying to see if we're gonna be able to track or not. So I think that we have to cover our employees, like Ed's saying. But also,
Absolutely.
if you want to talk about looking at something else, then that's the
Yeah,
next
just-
couple lines of discussion.
Yeah.
Which kind of overlap with each other here.
Yeah, they all do. I don't disagree with you, Ed. They've got to be paid. You can't, but our practice might need to change also along with it. Like, we're willing to do A, but we've also got to be able to do B. I'm just,
I think you're right.
Yeah.
So did we have a?
So I'll make a motion that
No,
we,
there's no motion.
There's,
Okay,
there's
just making
a,
sure. I didn't know if we went to discussion or not.
no, because I started it by saying, what's the thing that we're
Gotcha.
moving? So
And
like,
we don't.
which
We
we,
shouldn't
and
have
we
any
didn't,
numbers or
we didn't have any suggested language for it, so we got to hash it out now,
Right,
right?
right, right.
So right now, the only thing I've got jotted down is I move to give the superintendent the authority to waive school, and I changed this just right now. What do you think? School mandated quarantine?
I'd agree.
mandated or implemented, one of the two. I mean, something that we're doing.
Right.
I mean,
but it won't matter. If you're a contact, you will be, it is our requirement that you be quarantined. So it doesn't matter if it happens at school or not.
it's double-edged.
It's
It is, like,
double-edged, so.
if you were, if I were, another example, if I were at dinner at a friend's house and they were positive, I called in to my supervisor and said, I've been in contact. So now I'm going to be, the protocol is the health department is putting me on quarantine. My supervisor did not do that. I'm informing them.
Yeah.
Now, they may tell me to come to work or not, but the point is I was at a different location. Now, if I'm at school and my job as a teacher and someone had it in my class and now I'm sent home, my supervisor is now made that, whether I was 6 feet or not, so the health department didn't do it, but my school said, my whole classroom is going, that includes the teacher. Now I'm going. So now I need to be paid.
So we need
So
to.
that's where I'm seeing the two difference now, and that's probably where a few others are too. I see what you're saying. If I call in and tell you I've been there, our
policy
procedure is, our procedure is that you're not going to.
Whatever we're following is, you get,
Right.
along with everybody else in the
Procedures are
country
meant to
is,
be
if
changed,
you're a contact,
policy
you're.
is not.
So I'm thinking, so what I'm hearing, just based on what you said, Christy, was, so like, to waive school mandated quarantine because of contact at the school, like something about, if you have,
If the
if your
school-
source of contact was the school,
Right.
Then you should be paid.
Then we should be
then we
paid.
cover you. Am I following? I'm just really just playing stenographer right now.
well, would giving her the ability to waive that or grant more on a case-by-case basis, if we word it like that, does that just nix the whole thing and we can
It is
not
difficult. I
offer
agree
or
with Ellen
argue
at the same
semantics on that?
time.
So it would be limitation, I mean, the unfortunate thing is that we do have to have specific language that we write
Sure.
into the minutes and that we actually follow, right?
Sure, I just,
Because that one's right, policy matters.
case by case, because if, you know, if you have an employee that goes, that calls and says, yeah, over the weekend, I was exposed, so I have to quarantine, and it's your procedure that I have to quarantine, so you gotta pay me for that.
That would be a
We can-
self-quarantine.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, we
Not
can,
if you, not if they fill out the medical paperwork. If the employee gets the physician to sign the paperwork, then they're following your procedure.
So
That
following
you wrote in a MSBA, whatever, or you wrote in whatever last month. Resolution, last month.
Following Matt's logic, then it would be, I move to give the superintendent the authority to waive limitations on COVID sick days for each employee
on a case-by-case
on a
basis.
case-by-case basis.
I mean,
It's not comfortable anyway.
Well,
you
that,
slice
would
it.
that give you the leeway?
The whole
that you-
situation isn't comfortable.
No, correct.
Either way, we're wrong. It doesn't matter.
For me, for up to this point, now it may be different, but up to this point, I haven't had a problem distinguishing between the two. A school-based and a social setting based. I think the more of us that become vaccinated, it will start to right itself. But up to this point, I haven't had that problem. I can see where it might be a problem, but I haven't right now. So if it is giving the superintendent the authority to waive the COVID sick leave day, 10-day limit on a case-by-case basis, I feel fine about that.
COVID sick leave day.
Right, so move, Ed.
Yeah.
So move.
Yeah, I may
So
come
you
back next month and say, yikes.
Linda's got that down pat.
Let me see what I've got. I move to give the superintendent the authority to waive to waive the COVID sick day, to waive the COVID sick leave 10-day limitation. Yes?
On a case-by-case.
On a case-by-case basis. On a case.
Based on the board of resolution, you probably should see that to the board of resolution attached, mention
Oh,
it.
right.
You need to tie it together.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
find the right word, tie it
As
together.
articulated in
Yes.
the board resolution.
It was adopted in
I
January
remember the date.
2021.
Was it just earlier this month? I know.
So, and actually, Brian quietly mentioned something that isn't going to mention, but he had a very good point. We're allowed to make amendments to that resolution.
Right.
If you're going to do that, I mean, we're making a motion and an action item, should that be an
Oh,
amendment?
to amend the,
Yeah, we should probably amend the actual document, so it's recorded, rather than just a motion. So do you have a few employees currently that need to be paid? Is that
No,
correct?
they are being paid.
Okay, so we
We
don't
have not
have, so is
docked
this
anyone.
something we can table and get the correct wording to an amendment to do it next
No,
month?
we can figure this out
Or
right now.
can we amend it, add an amendment to it?
This
now?
is,
Once already, that's cool.
yeah, yeah, this is practically done, but I mean, I get the point. When was that resolution passed? Linda, do you recall?
Last month.
It was last month, we backdated it, so.
Wasn't it
was
January? It was January?
January 26th.
There we have it, thank you.
And we made it effective for the entire, from January 1st.
January 4th.
That's why I thought
Our
most of
fourth
this
when
was
school came back in.
covered. I suppose I could.
They got it. Yeah. Okay, let me see what we got.
I don't even know my battery died.
Okay, so right now, here's how I've got it worded. Please help me out with corrections. I move to amend the board resolution of January 26, 2021 to give the, or adopted on January 26, 2021, to give the superintendent the authority to waive the COVID sick leave 10-day limitation on a case-by-case basis. Do you need me to read it one more time? Did I go too
No, I
quickly?
liked it. And it'll fit right in.
Dr.
there.
Mayor, are you comfortable with that wording? I mean, it does put a lot on your shoulders. Are you
I
comfortable?
was gonna say, we probably also just need to send it to the attorney to make sure it doesn't lend or lead towards discrimination by the way that it's written as well, so.
Okay.
I'm cool with that. But then that means we won't be taking action on it
You
tonight.
will not
We'll
be able to motion, you will not be able to act on it tonight.
Yeah, we would be tabling it.
Do you want to put contingent upon?
We, as I say, we could make it contingent upon
Approval
lawyer
from the-
approval or.
From the attorney?
Mhm.
Or we could table it.
If you get the right wording, and then you could just approve it next month, if that's, if it's
I
not an issue. If it
absolutely
is
will.
an
Either
issue,
way.
then we're gonna
You're
have
gonna
an.
have to-
I will
next 30
entertain whatever
days.
motion comes before the board.
If it's retroactive, it won't matter if we tabled it. But that's
And yeah,
just-
there's only one more paycheck going out before that, as long as it doesn't affect anybody when it's. If it doesn't affect anybody on the
I
paycheck.
make a motion that we include the terminology that was just written, which was,
I move to amend the board resolution adopted on January 26, 2021 to give the superintendent the authority to waive the COVID sick leave 10-day limitation on a case-by-case basis contingent upon
the attorney.
approval by the district's attorney.
I second. Aye.
Hi.
Okay, wait, who was that? I didn't even hear you say second. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I had a total aphasic moment. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Amen indeed. Okay. This, and then we've got the Director of Curriculum and Instruction position. Before I hand it off to Dr. Mayer, I sent around my little analysis of the survey data. Did I get anything wrong? Do we need to correct anything? Do we need to add anything? I don't mean to misrepresent anything, so,
No,
cool.
put a lot of hours in that.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. All right, then I hand it on over.
I just would really like to be able to be clear on what my next steps are to be. Am I waiting for more definitions? Am I to go ahead and post this position? I just need some direction.
I think we need to post something. We need to start looking for the right person.
Or like, sounds like we've got so we've got one voice that says go ahead and post something.
Well, don't we have to decide if we want one or two? I mean, that was a lot of the deals in there, a lot of talk.
Right.
We need the grade school level, middle school to high school. I'm all for two of them. I mean, that's the way I feel about it. As long as they're on the same page, you know, I got no problem with that. So,
I would want to see the position redefined so that they are working on curriculum and
yes.
instruction and not on so many other things.
One of the things that I did notice about the survey was and I think it's not accurate, not because of what people necessarily think, but the administrative duties that included PD. For me, professional development is the heart of this position. Adult learning is the key to student achievement. And the director really needs to be the person that leads that effort.
So you're still thinking of it as being a director, just a
Well,
one.
and I really liked when we talked about the director, coordinator, whatever you want to call it, of teaching and learning. I like that. I think that title really encapsulates what we mean when we talk about this position. But we can't forget that adult learning is so important. And we can't set that aside, I think.
No, I've never wanted to separate PDC from.
Okay, good.
So I have a question. I agree with Ed, and I actually really agree with Harry, and I do think we need to get it posted. We really need to find the right person or right people. So we really need to figure out what we are posting, but I do think the longer we wait, the harder it is to get the quality that we're asking for our district to start improving. So we need to start thinking about that on hiring instead of waiting till the last minute.
So what does us as a board want to do, one or two? I mean,
I think the
we need to
survey
make that
data
decision.
suggested that having two different leaders, one to focus on one age group and one to focus on another age group.
I think that was clear.
I think that was a pretty clear,
so that's direction we're giving the superintendent is for two.
Well, they're going to be
One-
both full-time?
unless,
Can we afford that?
Two people and an expert.
it depends on how it's structured.
Are you
So,
looking more at a director of elementary education and a director of secondary education?
Very good wording, yes. That would be the two, I would assume.
the question is, pay, salary.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do financially, on the budget? Where does that come in at in order to give our teachers what they ask for, to give our students what they need?
Yeah, because this will be creating another position, which
That's
is
correct.
whatever. So we're talking about another position at a administrative level, which does not
Which
directly.
takes away from teacher salaries.
Yeah.
And it doesn't directly, it doesn't teach class, it doesn't touch classrooms necessarily in the day-to-day sense, other than the oversight that teachers get and the value that they would get from this position, maybe be more hands-on and in place.
Well, there were those who were responding in the survey who said that this should be more of an instructional sort of position and less administrative driven. I submit for consideration. I am agnostic.
I believe this position also has to include, on the administrative side, I suppose, even though this is not necessarily a position that demands administrative certification, it does have to include teacher evaluation. That's the evaluation of instruction. And that is also a very important part of this position.
Evaluation in what capacity?
Training principals. We want our principals to be, to look with the same eyes at instruction. We don't want anyone to ever say, well, I'm in such and such building and instruction here doesn't look the same as it looks, so it's not as rigorous as it is in this other building, or whatever. We want to make sure that our principals are all trained to be very great evaluators.
So what I'm hearing is what it sounds like we're looking at possibly 2 positions for this, it seems like, by listening by the survey, and that you would have to advertise for 2 positions. I think that we need to give her an answer to be able to advertise something, because it needs to happen. We're in February now, we probably should have posted in November, December at the latest, so we've got to close this.
Dr. Mayer, you were just stating that training principals, so you're stating that they would be part of their evaluations.
I'm sorry, Christy, I can't hear you.
So you were saying that training principals to make sure everybody's on the same level, but also, so they would be they'll be in the administration area because they would be doing evaluations on principals? Is that where you're getting that they'd be on the administration side?
They're working with the principals, so I mean, I don't know if you want to call that an administrator, but they're working in administration.
That's what I wanted to get, your point of view of finding out where that salary break may be, if it's administration or not.
Right.
But someone who's working with someone in an area could actually evaluate their area on someone without being in administration, is where I was going with. Basically, I'm thinking about how we advertise or what salary break you get someone.
Hey, Eric.
Yep.
Oh, hi. Yeah.
May I elaborate on what that role looks like currently, of how I am involved in training the principals on teacher evaluation? Because I think that I do not evaluate anyone. I have just made sure that our principals are calibrating together on, if we walk into a classroom, are we seeing what we know, or do we know what we see? And so it is really more about making sure we're having conversation. And, you know, I bring Mrs. Vaughn up to Mr. Hertz's building, she's like, whoa, this is crazy, and the same thing, but we still have that conversation. So it's really about training how to go in and look for engaging instruction. That's the only part I train on. I do not evaluate. I will go in and observe and a teacher with them, but I do not evaluate the teachers. That is a principal's job. The other big piece I play a role in is the support of our growth plans that are required by the state for our teachers. And a lot of that also funnels through, obviously, the administrators and the instructional coaches, and we do a lot. So we're working smarter, not harder. We've got some cheat sheets, like here are some things that are great things to do if you're working on this standard from the state. So there is no evaluation on my side. It is strictly training and making sure that we're talking the same talk, walking the same walk, so that a middle school teacher can talk to a second grade teacher and say, oh, I'm getting 30-second feedback. Oh, I'm getting our one-sheet observation. And yes, technology integration means that my kids are using technology, not me. So that it is the same conversation across the board.
Right.
There's not the
Yeah,
administrative
that's good.
role of actually doing evaluation.
Gotcha. So
Thank you.
briefly put for the listeners at home, Ms. Gillespie says it's not so much evaluation as it is norming to standards of teaching. All right.
Okay, so I guess my question would be, I mean, we are going to have some new principals, I guess, and new positions next year. But for the majority, I mean, I look around this room and our principals are pretty solid. So how much of that will there be, how much instruction will there be for, if we have a secondary and elementary, there won't be necessarily very much training needed for your seasoned, I don't understand where that really falls. I guess I'm missing. How much of that happens, or is this really for teacher and for the teachers and the administrators to have a baseline, I guess? I don't know how much of it would really be principal training.
Well, there is a formal principal training program.
Okay, I'm with you. Okay.
And actually, it's our program.
And we're very active with that? I mean, it's ongoing and active?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's very rigorous.
Okay, so they go through that continually through a year?
We do that every year, actually. We go, our new principals and the principals that came in this year will need to, Dr. Patty Corum comes to take them through this training.
Okay.
And then our seasoned principals with them then have a review every year. Now, we haven't had it this year, but we will continue to do that.
And the only reason I ask that is because if this person comes in and they've never been a principal, how do they know what to do as a principal?
We have a really rigorous training program for them.
I mean, this director of curriculum and instruction position, if they've never been a principal before, how do they know how to train the principal?
I went through the training myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was into my first few years, I was in extensive training with the state with my brother for, so I could then carry on. So.
Okay. I'm not sure that I can support looking at it from a budget standpoint.
I can't.
Our teachers are not paid enough as it is.
I can't, because every time we hire another administrator, we take money out of the pockets of the
Yeah.
teachers.
Well, I agree with Ed, but I think it's a moot point because I don't think the superintendent would support doing anything other than having something very similar to the current position. Am I right, Dr. Mayer?
What, I can't hear you.
I said I agree with Ed, but I think it's a moot point because I don't think that our current superintendent, I don't think that you would support doing anything very different than what we've got going on right now.
I'm very pleased with what we have going on now.
And therefore,
Yeah.
and if that's the way it is, if we can't, if we and the survey can't move that any other direction, then we might as well just go ahead. So we want to go ahead and just encourage her to go ahead and post her description as however she wants to post it.
This is, yeah, I agree. It's not an action
It's
item.
not an action
so-
item, she just wants direction.
Go for it.
I-
Because a winner.
Yep.
The only reservations I'd still have reservations on the job description. And you
Well,
and I
but,
talked
you know,
about
we
it.
Does it
can,
matter?
why don't you and I, or
Well, it's
whoever
just, I'm
else
just
wants
one
to-
person,
I think it's a
so-
fait accompli, so
Yeah.
it's just time to go ahead and get it posted, right?
but I do want to hear what
Yeah, all
what
right.
you, and I want to look at the survey also.
Yeah.
No,
more
no, I
closely.
mean,
Well, no,
the details that you've gotten about the survey are the details
Yeah,
that
all
you're
we
going
can
to
do
get
is
about the
give
survey.
you
I gave
what
my
we-
word to the teachers that their
interpretation.
words would be protected. So.
Well,
and it
no,
sounds
no,
like it-
I'm not asking to look at the remarks.
Yeah, but-
I'm going to look at what you sent, just
Yeah,
the
yeah.
percentages of what you sent.
Oh,
And
okay, you've got that.
You identified the three themes, the prevalent themes.
Or just the ones that were over 10%
Correct.
in the responses,
Correct.
yeah.
Good.
Like surveys should not be mandatory.
Questionnaires should not be mandatory.
of the time.
Questionnaires should not be mandatory. They were not coded. We do have a typo here. We're not moving from C to C, but C to D, and then D would be E. Folks wanted to talk about the R2L discussion, so have it. I think it's Matt and, I think it's Matt.
Well, I just, it just seems to me that as soon as our numbers, if our threshold is 7, as soon as our numbers are 7.01, we are jumping to make something happen to move this way. And our numbers are super low, just doing the math off the website, not implementing any kind of mitigation, long-term care. They're super low, and we owe it to the community to talk about going the other direction and phasing down instead of up. And I just wanted to start the discussion.
So I talked to Dr. Mayer and asked for some numbers the last few days. She, of course, sent me over to Mr. Paprick, who keeps all numbers. And his formula was a little too complex for me to dig into. I haven't done that kind of math in a while. So I asked him what our numbers were. He gave me back a 13-day average of 2.67, and our phase rating was 2.64. That was as of like a day ago, I believe, because there weren't numbers that he had here. Our numbers have also come down just slightly since then. He did agree that our numbers have dropped dramatically since January. Our numbers were in the 80s, 100s. Now we're looking at 20s. So we are even down to 19 now. So we actually have gotten to a place where, as Matt's saying, when we get to 7.01, we're a couple of hundredths of a tenth away from being at a phase 2 situation. I think we need to look at going back to that and making an announcement that we are going to go back into phase 2, starting with our 72-hour window, which we kind of said we would give people, which would move us back to probably looking at like Monday. I mean, this is Tuesday night. If you put something out tomorrow and talk about 72 hours, then there's no need to change anything on a Friday, right, teachers, principals? So we should at least look at doing something on a Monday. I know there's a huge push in the community to go back to 5-day in seat. We also have to remember that we have a large number of students that are still distance learning, and we have to have teachers that still have to be accountable to those students that are distance learning, and we have to provide those kind of time. So I don't believe 5-day in seat is actually where we have to look at going. We have to look at going in 4-day in seat. I know another part of the push is going 4-day in seat in the high school. I talked with Ian today, and we had a conversation kind of about that, and that, you know, if I say this wrong, please stop me, but one of the things we talked about, quite frankly, was the fact that the space is going to change. The mitigation strategies are going to be decreased. There isn't room to socially distance in his building. So you have to understand, if you're going to say we're going to bring back all those students within all that space, similar to the situation that you have at the middle school, they're able to rotate teachers. They're able to change things a little bit differently than you will at the high school, because we have to rotate kids at the high school. We don't have any situations where we can rotate teachers. So the students move room to room there. So we're going to have to change lunch periods, from what I understand with him. We're going to have to go back to congregate eating within the main commons type area. Right now, we're eating within classrooms. We're eating in the smaller cohorts. We stay in those kind of smaller cohorts. So this is going to change a lot within the face of the high school. And the community and the parents that are for or against need to understand that aspect, that it is going to change things dramatically within the high school on the safety features that we've kind of put in place and the things that he built the block schedule around, which was the distancing, the mask wearing, some of the things that we will be able to keep, but we won't be able to keep some of those certain things. So there's going to be the possibility of a higher transmission. And as he said, we've got to look at a way of, if this isn't going to work out, then we've got to be all right with the fact of backing back out of it if this isn't going to work. We're going to possibly be looking at higher quarantines if we look at mixing and having more kids in there. And what if we run out of adults, I believe was the way he said it, which is the teachers for those buildings, because if we actually run out of people to be able to man those areas. So that's just kind of information. That's not to sway, just to give you all something to think about when we go in there, as far as looking at the discussion of putting back in seat within the high school itself. I think the phase 2 situation moves itself, but I don't know about what
Phase
you're
2
looking
in the
at.
high school is fine, except it might give our kids 40 hours more of learning the rest of the school year. That's not enough. And I won't advocate for any of the other buildings because they're getting 4 days a week, but the high school is not. And I'm not here to offend or disappoint anyone else, but I'm telling you right now, my high school student and her friends and all of the 32 emails that I got, they're not getting 4 days worth of learning at the high school. So if that's the only way we as a board can push that, then I guess we need to bear down and get our kids educated, at least for the last 2 months of the school year, fourth quarter at least. So, in school,
Can we do it?
in seat.
One of the concerns that I've had, looking at this, we've had cold weather, we've been shut down, the numbers are low. But the numbers also, we had 8 cases in the last 24 hours. So we also need to be responsible and watch it the rest of the week to see if the cases are gonna grow, that now people are out and about again. If that's the case, it may be that we don't change anything at the high school because the situation hasn't went away, because it was cold weather versus COVID. Yes, people are getting vaccinated, things are happening, and a lot of people are taking great precautionary measures. I am for the kids to learn, and I would love for them to be in for 4 days at the high school like the rest of the students. But at the same time, before we make any sort of decision, I think we need to watch the numbers for a week. At least be considerate before you make a sudden decision.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't open the windows at the high school. We can't do the ventilation kind of thing. It's closed and it's crowded.
Well, if we're gonna watch the numbers for a week, though, I want to make sure that we watch the numbers for a week.
And get the
Because
right
that-
numbers.
Because we put all this on Patrick, and he took it, and I thank him for that. But he says the reporting is sporadic. Well, it's not, as far as the website goes, it's every day except for 1 day a week. And the reporting, I think, is trying to rely on the health department to report the long-term care patients.
The pull-outs.
And do this math and do that. It's not fair to him. It's not fair to anybody in the community. It's not fair to the students. So, if we're gonna watch the numbers, I just wanna make sure that we actually watch the numbers. And we don't.
You mean watch the numbers other than what the health department says?
No. Just like watch the numbers, like,
Watch the health department numbers?
Yes.
Okay, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
The
Yeah.
dashboard is on the school website, and it doesn't get updated daily or however often it was supposed to. It just doesn't. And I feel like we're doing a disservice to those that want to be in school so that we don't anger the people that don't. And I just want to make sure that we are catering to both sides of the community and not just the loudest ones.
And the other
That's
thing.
the way I feel.
And the other thing that Ian and I talked about was, if this all goes bad, we've got to have a backup plan. You know, and that was something that was also on one of the slides that you had shown, Dr. Mayer, about, what's going to happen, that making sure we have some contingency plans in place with that. I don't know, I noticed on the slide, it kind of pointed towards the board to have some of those contingency plans. I think that also goes back to the building leaders. Be more than happy to help you come up with some contingency plans if you like, but I don't know how the school runs day to day to that degree. So saying that maybe I should come up with a contingency plan, I could come up with it, but it might not be what you really could execute, or actually would be feasible. But I have no problem sitting down and coming up with some time to look at some things with you to make sure we can kind of get some things. I think that our students deserve more time in seat in the high school. These are our kids that are going out and going to be our future leaders the fastest. These are the kids that we've got to have that can compete against other kids who have been in seat, for scholarships. ACTs are coming up, all those other things which may or may not be waived again. So I think that we have to make sure that we are getting our students ready just as much as everyone else. But I'm willing to help with that if you want some
How
help.
close
If you
are we
don't,
to phase
then
two
tell me I
numbers?
can figure it out in
We're
my
under
building,
phase
just like
two
you've done all
numbers.
year and done a great job, so like we said.
Then why aren't we in it?
Exactly.
Well, I think the issue is that not whether or not we're in phase two, is whether or not we are going to go 4 days, all students in all seats all the time. So in phase two, we are supposed to be on an A-B block schedule like we are now.
At the high school.
At the high school, yes, at the high school. But the question was, do we go beyond that? Do we bring all the kids back?
And with all due respect, the plan was written in August when none of us knew anything.
Oh, yes,
And
that's
now,
true.
there are a lot of changes where I feel like we could
Now.
make some changes to that, and our kids could go to school.
Let's do it. Let's bring all the kids back.
I second that.
Why not?
Dr. Mayor, how do you,
Back 4
Dr.
days a
Mayor,
week.
I'd like to hear your voice on the matter.
I totally agree with what Ian said, that I want to bring the kids back too. I'd like to bring them back 4 days. I think our teachers are going to have to, because we've still got distance learners out there. And that Wednesday is very important for those kids and for the kids who get interventions or whatever they need. I think that if the community or the board or whomever says, we accept the risk, we know that there's going to be an increased risk, we know we can't social distance, but we accept that. And school, we understand that it's not your fault if cases start rising again because we can't social distance.
So at this point, do you think that it's safe to move to 4 days if we watch the numbers, and they weren't climbing, you would be supporting that?
Part of Matt's
You know,
point, though, is that the numbers aren't.
I think that's a guess, and I would,
I mean, we're all guessing.
I have no idea. I really have no idea.
And she's the superintendent,
Right.
she's there a
To
lot
guess.
closer in the building, and she knows her staff, so that's
But I
why.
do think we could bring them back understanding, and this has got to be communicated to the community. We cannot social distance at the high school. We'll bring the kids back, we'll bring them back in seat. They all have to wear masks, so that's going to help, but there will be no social distancing.
They don't, I mean, you can't do that at the middle school either, right? And
But they stay in their room.
They're cohorting.
You're cohorting in your rooms.
Yeah.
yes.
But they still have to get there.
Can we acknowledge
Well-
Mr. Verts?
Maybe. Hey, Verts.
I was gonna say, kind of take a step
Yeah, come up here to a mic, please.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Perfect. Hand him a
I was gonna bring it
microphone.
to you last time.
Is this on?
I think it was green.
Check.
Yep.
You're good.
So if we back up just a little bit, I think a couple people have touched on it here, is the guidance that was given to the principals at the beginning of the year to design a plan for their building were to look at social distancing, any other mitigation strategies that you would need to do in order to keep students and staff members safe. That's what we were given, okay? And through that, our middle school was able to cohort, because that was a suggested activity from DESE and the other people that were providing resources for us. Cohort their groups so their students aren't moving. You guys understand that whole process, how they're staying in classrooms. That's why you have whole classrooms getting quarantined, because they're together the whole time. And then at the elementary level, naturally, they have a home room, and so those students aren't moving very much, okay? At the high school, we have students that will, a population of, right now, somewhere between 12 and 14 in a classroom, and they'll go to 12 or 14 different places. And so the only way that we could get around the social distancing aspect of that would be to limit the number of students that are in our building, not only in the classrooms, but in our common spaces. Our common spaces, such as our hallways, are inadequate. They are, and we've known this for quite some time. They're small.
But the administrators, as Dr. Mayer reports, say that you're comfortable with bringing students on back.
I am comfortable with bringing students back if we are able to maintain social distancing.
It can't happen.
Oh, so
We don't have the
that's
room.
where the
Yeah.
contradiction lies. Okay.
And we
so-
have to, if we're saying as a community, if our community's saying, I want to represent our students and our faculty and our community, okay? If our community is saying, and our students and our faculty are saying, that they're willing to accept that risk, our numbers are low enough, the transmission rate's not there. We have vaccines at all levels in our schools.
How do you expect to get like that sort of like accession from the community? Do you want everyone to sign a waiver? Is that what you're saying?
That's been a suggested
What are you
activity.
suggesting? It's
I
your
would
building.
suggest if we were going to move, if the board and administration decides that we're gonna move to all students, because I've already proposed my plan. And it's written in clear language from the day one in
Okay.
August to present, which is, we're gonna do these things in phase 2 and 3 as far as our hybrid instruction, for the purpose of providing social distance for our students and staff members in our building. To try to keep it as safe as possible. Because at the end of the day, that's my primary responsibility as a principal, is to provide a safe environment.
So you're saying no to bringing all the students back, all right now, all in seat?
I don't see how we can do that and social distance.
What he's
leave
saying,
it
if you say that you're going to do that, like Dr. Mayer was saying, and like I was trying to say,
Yeah.
then you have to understand as a community that you're throwing some of those safeguards away that we're using as mitigation strategies. There isn't 6 feet anymore available for children because we don't have that much space. You know, you're saying that now instead of eating in our classrooms, we're gonna go back to common large areas of eating. You know, it's gonna change the day a little bit because right now, from what I understand, we're gonna have to add maybe another lunch period or lengthen the lunch period even because you've got twice as many students eating as you did before. And also, as we got earlier from Diane, the high school has the most distance learners in the district at 122. So, yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm
Ms.
sorry.
Gillespie.
I want to remind you, though, that all the distance learners still are required to take all of our
All the
state
distance learners are
assessments.
still
Mm-hmm.
required to
So
take
they
state
are gonna
assessments,
have to
and they
schedule
still
those
need
students
to
come into the building to
have
take
time to come into the
math,
buildings.
geometry, and EOC. So about 225 of the 220 students still are required to take our state assessments. So that's something else we have to take into
That they will be coming inside the
as we
building.
think about when they return, how many days they're in the building, because that's going to be a master schedule that one will not, our principals are attaching and then never attach.
Right.
Okay.
As well as our distance learners receive some special instruction on Wednesdays and things like that as well through the school. So if you went 5 days, then you cancel out all that, but you've got to be just as cognizant of our distance learners as you are of our in-seat learners as well. So there's kind of a lot of moving parts with the decision to just say, it's not just as simple as saying we go in seat, but what it looks like to come there.
I'd like to state, I think some of the concern with some of the parents are that the lessons are getting, they're only getting 2 lessons a week, maybe is, and I don't know what's going on, I'm not a parent, I don't have a kid in the school, I've only heard the secondhand that they are only getting 2 lessons a week, so if you're teaching the same thing on Monday and Tuesday, those kids can't come to school on Tuesday, or at their distant learning, they're not getting another lesson. So is there a way that we can teach the kids more, even if we do stay at the A and B block? Is that a concern? I don't know. I'm speaking from secondhand information.
And oftentimes, that's how we all hear it. And so I think what's very important is that those individuals, as indicated in the original plan and on the slides that were presented here tonight, and the communications that I've had with our students and their parents, is that if a student has an issue, you brought it up earlier, how do you get the answer to a question regarding an assignment or instruction for your child? You want to talk directly to that teacher. You want to make sure you have a conversation with the teacher and find out. And if you're not happy with that, then the next level that you're going to move to is the principal. And at that point, it could go in several different directions. But hopefully, we can find a resolution to supporting the student's needs at that point. Maybe clearing up communication. I don't want to speculate, but I would say the majority of the time, there's miscommunication somewhere in the details. So whether when the assignment's due is something that was spoke about earlier tonight. Also, the number of lessons. There could be multiple units of study that are presented, or multiple units within a lesson, or the multiple lessons within a unit that are presented to a student, and then they're given additional time to work through those experiences on those additional days. Now, any student that has been that has requested, or parent has requested additional time at the high school, they've been granted that time. And one of the things that has come up is the structure of the teacher's classroom. And so again, I think we have to go back to that and say, okay, help me understand how you are providing learning experiences for your students daily. Whether that structure looks like we've talked about here, from a 4-day school week to a 5-day school week. You're still going to have the same level of curriculum, for instance, if we were moving to a different structure for our school, is what I'm saying. You would still have the same level of curriculum and standards that you have to cover. And so you're going to have to increase the length of your units or your lessons in order to get all of that material there. So a lot of it's dictated by structure.
Okay. So, speaking on the 32 emails that everybody seemed to receive today, if those 32 parents wanted to put those kids in the high school, they could request that with you to be able to have that time granted for their children.
Absolutely. And what we have to do with each one of those requests is we will evaluate the number of students in each class, okay, that student's in. and the physical space that's available, and if we can maintain the social distancing, because that's what the plan is. That's the reason why we have a hybrid schedule. It's not because we don't want students there. We actually want the exact opposite. We want our kids there every day. We want our kids every day, and our teachers miss it. It's a lot more work to do a hybrid schedule. It's a lot more work to provide mitigation strategies and to set all that stuff up and to monitor it. But it's worth it because people feel safe to be there. And I think a person feeling safe in the workplace is very, very important for productivity.
Thank you.
I'm still confused about what it is that the administrators want from the board.
I think that they would just like, I don't think we've got a clear picture as, is the board, is the majority of the board on one page? Do you have a direction that you want to go? Or would you like us to say if we're going to stay in phase 2, the A-B schedule? We hear a lot, and I got all those 32 emails also. So,
I think I got the same ones.
So I know that there's a lot of communication. I know that there's a lot of talk to you guys and much more than there is to me. But I need to know, you're the board of directors. I need to know, do you want us to make that decision? And if you want us to make that decision, we will.
Okay, so that's a pretty straightforward one. Your guys' thoughts?
That's the, well, and also it was in their little presentation on the, in some of the schools that went back to 4-day learning or 5-day, they were some of the smaller schools, but I also know that some of the city, and granted, they could be bigger buildings, I don't know, but some of those schools are also in school for 4 or 5 days. So there's a lot on the table.
And I think if we, the structure that we have for our distance learning at this time may not be the same as what is offered in other areas. We have teachers that are teaching both ways. I don't know necessarily if that's something that's probably happening in a larger district where they maybe have devoted teachers maybe to distance learning or other things. We've got teachers that are going to have to teach the kids at home as well as have to teach the kids that are coming to the classroom. And that's not fair to say you're going to have to do that 5 days a week. We have to give them that 4th day.
Hold on, I got some
Not
sidebar
all
here.
subjects, but in the core subjects.
So my question is, when is the CELUS used and when is it not?
I thought we had that clarified. I
It's
got
just
Callie
more
here,
so.
I'm gonna go,
Because my understanding was that was going great and maybe we didn't need Wednesdays because the CELUS was working so well.
Dobbins, take that microphone on back with you, and we'll just pass it around.
Is it on?
Yeah.
It is.
Okay.
Turn it off when you all get done with it then. It'll be broken.
Callie Dobbins. So I want to speak to Acellus and some of what you guys have been talking about. At the Career Center, and that's all I can speak for because that's my building, I have teachers that are 100% just teaching in-seat learners. I have teachers who are teaching in-seat and teaching distant learners because Acellus isn't offered for our courses.
Okay.
However, Acellus is also offered for some of their courses. So they're teaching in-seat, they're teaching distant, and they're teaching Acellus. Okay? Acellus is wonderful in that it takes away the prep and the plan for the teacher. Okay? It gives them a tool to utilize. However, on Wednesdays then, they are monitoring student progress, seeing if they need to remediate, if they need to accelerate students, where things are going. So they're checking the progress of every one of their students all the time, plus providing that feedback, making phone calls, having them come in to tutor, or doing a Zoom meeting also. So that's kind of where, yes, Acellus is working, but not all of my teachers get it. And not all of my teachers just, I have all three. So I have 5 teachers that teach Acellus, and 4 of those teachers also have distant learning classes also, and all of them have in-person as well.
Okay.
Does that answer a little bit?
Sure.
And Gillespie. No, Gillespie, it's you.
Okay, sorry, thank you, Dr. Meyer. I would also like to add that it has been very important in the other buildings that are not in the same setup as our high school, because I know some of our upper-level high school classes have the same thing that Mrs. Dobbins just said, but it has been very important that we continue to provide intervention for those distant learners. So I know in the elementary buildings and the middle school buildings that they have set schedules to meet with our ACELA students, our distance learners, on Wednesdays. Maybe it's a 10 o'clock Google Meet every week that we are checking in with those students. How are you doing? What can I help you with? And if they need help, they're coming in. I also know Mrs. Vaught has about 25 of her students that are in-seat learners coming in for 3 hours of intervention. So they're at school Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, but she has them coming in because they were behind, coming in for extra help on those Wednesdays to catch those little ones up where we know they're just sponges and they're missing out on some of those things. So they are in a classroom with a teacher getting extra reading and math instruction, as well as some support through ACELUS. So that Wednesday day, yes, ACELUS is helping with the prep piece for teachers, but they are still very involved with distance learners across the district with using ACELUS, because we send home progress reports every week. Not every week, every 3 weeks, but they have to make contact every week.
Okay, so we still have Dr. Mayer's
I was good telling you. Thank you.
question to us here, which is, do we want the administrators to formulate a plan going forward, or do we want to mandate a specific direction? Is that an accurate?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't think we've answered that question.
Well, my start to the discussion was never to crack the whip and herd them into the building 5 days a week. Wednesdays are off limits this year, as far as I'm concerned, because we haven't went a Wednesday yet. I'd really like to see someone look into getting the kids back in school at least 4 days a week at the high school, at least for the fourth quarter. I mean, at minimum. I mean, if we can do it in the elementary schools and the middle school, then, I mean, I just feel like there's a way.
When's the
to
fourth
do it.
quarter start?
Tomorrow, I think. I'm just kidding.
No, but it's soon. When's fourth quarter start?
When does fourth quarter start?
March 5th is the end.
Monday.
Yeah, so next week. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's Matt's perspective on this. I think Ellen's.
That's mine also.
Yeah.
Mine too.
Yeah.
I am as well.
Yep.
In favor of the 4-day in seat, yes.
Yep.
I'd like you to
Then
watch the
there's
numbers
4
and be
people that
cautious.
want, so
It's
that's
a
But-
good idea.
But that's not a vote, that's a,
It's not a vote.
yes.
No,
that's
I
not a
know, but it does tell me, well, I should shut up because not everybody's talked.
I think Harry's the only one who's,
I think that you should watch the numbers and make a solid, sound decision, and I don't think it's this week. It should be the end of next week for you to make that sound decision, to know that you're putting our kids in a safe situation and our teachers. And if that is supported, I am for the kids to be in school. We all want that. But at the same time, I think that we should
And
smart
also
about
to
it.
give our administrators and our teachers the idea that, maybe in a couple of weeks, this is going to change for us, and how we might prep or look towards the future of how we can change the business that we're doing, like Ian said, to support these students coming back in, and that everyone has to realize that, we're giving up some safety on both sides, for the other parts of the mental health, the education, all the other aspects as well. I mean, this pandemic is a give and take in so many different areas, and this is just another give and take that we've got to figure out, what is actually better for us as a district, with our students and safer. And remember, as parents out there, you always have the choice of where your kids stay. If you don't feel that sending them back 4 days is still safe for you, then that's something, even if we say that's gonna be what happens March 8th or whatever the date would be that time would happen, then that's something that you can also say, hey, I'm gonna just keep sending my kids the 2 days or stay where I was.
I think when you made that choice, you didn't have another choice, do you?
yeah, I think once you're there,
I
you're
thought
there.
once you made a choice, we're where you're
Gillespie.
at.
At the middle and high school, if they cannot go from
In-seat to distant?
He's talking about in-seat students increasing the 4 days or staying at 2.
Right.
Correct?
But he also made a statement stating that if you're not comfortable with your child, that going back 4 days, that you could opt out and go to distant learning. That's
But
not
that's not
true,
the case.
correct?
Well, that, you're already at 2 days, so you're not necessarily opt out, you just don't
Well, if
re-engage.
they-
But I guess you would go back to
if
it.
they
Yeah,
go
no,
back
we're
to 4
talking
days,
about,
then they
we're talking
can't.
about saying all students in seat 4 days.
Yeah, so if you've already
So
opted
can
in,
you not
you're in
change that?
seat.
If you're in seat now, at the high school and middle school, you cannot go to distance because of scheduling reasons.
If you're
No,
in,
that's not true. So,
Okay.
I was gonna say, you'd think it'd be the other way
any
around.
student at
hey,
any
hey,
time-
wait a second, Birds, wait a second. We need this microphone. I'm not telling you not to talk. I'm saying you need to get the microphone.
We definitely want
Come
our
on up.
families to hear this. Families definitely need to hear this.
Thank you.
Yeah, just take that back there.
So,
Let's be put with it.
so as we've heard in several board meetings, I've been in a lot of them, especially in the middle of the year when we were having a lot of these discussions. A student, we are not in the position to tell somebody that we force them to come to school if they don't feel safe to be there, or they have another condition that happens within the frame of time. And so they can move from in-seat to distance learning at any point. There's nothing that we can do to prevent that. It will create a lot of challenges. One thing that you brought up about 2 versus 4 and those types of things, that would increase the workload for our teachers significantly. If a portion of their students are still at home and they're providing that instruction for them, but the majority of the students are there, if that makes sense. I also think another point there is, would they want to send them on those 2 days if the majority of the students were there already? So it's not a benefit to them as far as, if social distancing was the reason why they chose
Then they would probably
where
not
they're
go.
at, then you would be taking that away from them. We just need to be prepared and know what we're going to do in response to that. And that was another item that I had on this list, which is simply, how do we handle concerns about attendance of students and staff if structure is changed? So that's the reason why the decisions that I have made thus far with the team of people that I have and the information that's available to me. If something's changed in regards to that, then we want to obviously work to address that. And I would invite anybody to come look at how we could restructure the high school. I'm always willing to learn more.
So what I'm here, Gillespie, you got anything to add to that? No? Okay, okay. That's fine. So, board members, help me out here. My sense is that what we're saying is, yes, administrators, please find a way to have all students in seat 4 days a week at the high school. And please take it, like, I'm hearing what Christy's saying too. And perhaps such a plan could be implemented as soon as next week. Am I following this or not? If not, help me out.
I think that's what you're,
Yeah?
that's what you're.
Did you say as soon as next week?
No, I didn't say.
Christy said follow the numbers.
Follow the
next
numbers.
week.
Yeah, she was following
Give
the
them next week, this week, the
Oh, I
end
got
of
you.
this week and next week, because the quarter doesn't even go till,
Oh, and starting at the quarter.
Right.
What
but-
about if you
Okay.
decide to watch the numbers? If the numbers stay down, then the transition will take place the first day of the fourth quarter.
Which would be
I
March
think
8th.
that would,
Which is
that would be
March.
great.
I think that's
You're
what
not gonna have enough.
And that's why I want you to watch the numbers, is because I think it's very important to make sure it wasn't our cold weather that kept us all in, that's why we didn't have a spread. But if it's really that the vaccines are working and the numbers are really going down and everything's working, then maybe it is time that we start looking at new ways to start implementing and getting our kids back in school and getting some normalcy. But definitely, I think we need to evaluate it and make sure that we're making the right decision.
So I would feel good about watching the numbers, the board understanding that we're going to make that decision. We're going to look at the numbers, we're going to make that decision. I honestly feel that it might be a good idea for families to sign a memorandum of understanding.
Have you checked with the district's attorney about that?
No?
I would have to, but yeah, it would be.
I'm all right with an MOU as well.
Sign it, yeah.
Yeah, just check with the district's attorney. What is?
So we-
As far as our conference is concerned, Kirksville's the closest to our numbers. as far as size of district? Is that correct?
Our conference, I checked with them today. I know Fulton and Moberly are both hybrid.
And they're smaller.
Kirksville and Hannibal are in seat.
How many days?
They're in seat 5 days.
I think they're in seat 5 days.
5 days.
They also have a brand new building.
How are they doing it? We can't.
Well, we just got to accommodate some of the testing, so like.
So we'll take a look at the date of March the 8th then. First day of fourth quarter, contingent upon what the numbers do.
That's right.
They got newer buildings.
Any other comments, questions, concerns? It sounds though like we might want to revisit the quarantine issues or.
So, I mean, is that an appropriate time? I don't know if this is an appropriate time to talk about that. Is that
Yeah,
something that?
I'm comfy, come on.
Is that something that the district, I mean, now that are we at a situation where we're seeing multiple quarantines happening and the spread is not high in the buildings? Is it time for us to look at the governor's policy, and DESI and DHSS's quarantine policy and change our practice a bit?
I think so.
I would agree.
Although it sounds like we're saying to the administrators, hey, we're empowering you guys to make decisions. But maybe there's some encouragement from the
Yeah,
board. to
right
say-
now, the quarantine numbers are down also.
Absolutely.
Along with all the rest of the
Absolutely. My
numbers.
point is if we bring the.
But everything, like Christy was all saying, everything's
So-
down because for the last 10 days, we haven't been out.
So I think we
Everything's
need,
down nationwide, though. It's not just
Right,
in
I understand
Marshall
that.
and Missouri because of
understand
cold
that.
weather. I mean, the numbers have been declining. I mean,
Everybody was in.
I wasn't in. I mean, I don't know what anybody else had to do, but I had to go to work, so.
Glad guys like you had to go to work.
Yeah.
I did too, man. I did too.
Are we wrapped up on this?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know how
I
we
think
feel
we ought
about
to
that.
revisit the quarantine policy. I'm with you on that, Ellen. I think ours is too.
So maybe what we're saying is we need to ask the administrators, hey, while you're looking at all of this, would you please consider whether enacting the governor's quarantine policy is.
and we'll make that
something-
decision for March 8th also.
Something we can do.
I would think
Okay.
so.
Does that jive with the rest of, there's a sidebar.
I don't have anything to throw at them.
I know.
I mean, I haven't looked at DESI's guidance on that since it come out.
Hey, you guys, would it be okay if we all, how do I want to phrase this? Am I right in saying that what we want to do is say, hey, administrators, while you're looking at all of this, getting back in seat business, would you also be so kind as to revisit the governor's policies and see if we could make them work?
Quarantine.
Quarantine.
Absolutely,
policies.
I think it's very important that we aren't making those decisions anyway.
There we go. Sound good, clear, actionable, and understandable, Dr. Mayor? Yeah, following so far? Good? Yes.
So you would, I'm just curious. So you would follow your 72-hour plan, policy, I mean, your practice, procedure, whatever Chris uses, to let people know your plan for the 8th? So they would know sometime in that,
We would like the 4th is the 5th is the end of the third
That
quarter,
Friday?
so probably we'd make the announcement, I would think, on Thursday.
okay, just curious.
Friday at the very latest, but
All right.
What about logistics, Carol, and food and all that? Can you gear them up now to expect to order it, or because?
He's asking about food.
well,
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
I'll
going to
have-
be a consideration.
Good call.
yeah, we'll look, I would think that there isn't it, Grace? Okay, thank you.
We can order
Thank
food.
you, Gracie.
And we'll have to talk to Craig about transportation.
Thursday on, well, I think she has to have one.
Any other issues here to discuss? And Matt, I would definitely want to make sure to hand this back and say,
Substitute
do you feel like we got a bow on this, or that we've wrapped up point C, actually, the R2L discussion?
Are you good with that?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Any other remaining issues, comments, questions? It's pretty productive, all right. Looking forward to having kids back in class. All right, we're going to go to item D/E, substitute pay. Also, Matt on the hot seat.
Well, I mean, it's kind of anti-exciting here, bringing this up now, but.
I take offense at that.
I mean, if, my reasoning was, we tabled the substitute pay,
No, we just didn't take any action on it.
We just did-
action
okay,
on
I- Okay, sorry. Oh.
We put it under the table.
Oh, my gosh.
So, we correct people a lot. So, so we didn't do anything about the substitute pay. And if we're talking about going back 4 days a week at the high school or whatever we're doing, I think we need to prepare to need more adults in there.
I think
So,
you're right.
I would like to make a motion that we raise the sub pay to $100 a day.
Alas, it is not an action item.
It's not an action item, we can't make a motion.
Freaking told you that.
I
Point proven.
asked for that to be an action item, so.
Oh, wait.
I think you did.
That was that whole discussion
Yeah.
about
You
the
did
action,
ask
yeah.
for it.
That was the whole thing.
Wait a second.
He said he needed an explanation, so he wrote an explanation to all of us, but it didn't change. But we also didn't change it tonight whenever we did the adopted of the agenda.
Yeah, at the beginning of the agenda.
So it should have been changed at the beginning of tonight.
But this is an easy one to,
Yeah, I move we call it an action item right now.
no, stop it.
I don't- I'm out of order, but I don't care.
No, but that's, let's at least discuss. And so if we need to call a quick meeting to get this pushed through, then we can do that, right? So let's just get that discussion.
Can we call a quick meeting after closed session tonight? I mean, we
No, you have to give a
continually
notice
had
to the
meeting after
public.
meeting after
Yeah.
meeting after
Yeah.
meeting after
All right,
meeting.
good idea.
Yeah, fine.
We'll do it.
Can you do that?
I don't
You
know
gotta
if we
notify
can or
the
not,
public.
just
I don't
ask
really
me.
think so.
I was gonna say, I think you have to notify the
That we
public
can
within
do, that's
so
not
many
out of
hours.
order. We can call a meeting
Ridiculous.
anytime we get more
So
than
the
4
answer
people.
is,
But let's at least talk about this. And so we're still talking about the same proposal.
Yeah, the same, thing, and I emailed
Just
it
through the
to
end of this
everybody.
year?
Yeah, that was a good email, too.
Or is that what you're thinking? Just through the end of this year?
I mean, we could do it just through the end of this year, or we could do it for good. I mean, Slater's 95, and I know that they're smaller and they may not need as many people, but they're still $10 a day more to drive 13 miles that way.
No, I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
But now what were our
No, it's
concerns?
okay.
Why didn't we go ahead with this
We
last time, right?
added
Because-
the $15 for them to
We had it for the
cover their
covering
classes.
of,
We
covering of
did add that
classes.
because we
Yeah.
are, but in our district, Dr. Mayor provided, in our conference, we were actually in line with everyone, so
Yeah,
we're
that's
not out of
right.
line.
Yeah, but we're
It's our
not
two
competing with
closest
schools in our
towns.
conference.
Right.
They're 4 hours away.
But
So-
we're in the middle of the road of everybody except for these two little small towns that, but also, if you're gonna go there, you're gonna go there because you don't wanna be in the big school. And,
I
and maybe,
disagree.
and you're gonna drive a little bit if you're actually one of our subs to go that way. So, I mean, there's pros and cons to both of it, but we are in the middle of the road of everyone.
Well, it's, I mean, we do have, it's going to be the beginning of the quarter before we implement the change that would really affect this, right?
Well, see, our,
So, this is just a procedural note. So having one more very brief meeting, I have a feeling we will probably be talking about other issues that will probably require our attention.
because our long-term sub rate is $100 a day. And we just, those short.
Well, I just,
So, yeah.
I kind of get tired of us waiting on what everyone else does and not just doing something that is unique to Marshall
Lead the way.
and saying that, you know, well, we don't need to do this because they do that and this does this. I don't care. I'm not on the board in our conference. I'm on the board here. And I think we raise the sub pay to get more subs, better subs, the subs that we need here.
You're-
I think it's ridiculous to wait on.
Do you want to do that as a end of year? We will raise it this year and reevaluate that next year? Or are you looking to make that a change to go forward?
I don't see why we wouldn't just make it a change to go forward, because then we're the bar.
Okay.
We're not,
Do we have
Setting-
problems in any other years of having substitute teachers besides COVID?
Subs are
Have we
always,
had those?
subs are always a
problems
little
this year?
bit just,
yeah,
yes.
what was the number
Every
you
district
told me?
has probably problems with subs.
What was the number you told me of subs that usually per day?
Oh, my gosh. It was
What did we say that, it was high.
17, something like that?
How many subs did we say an average a day?
When it's not COVID, in 15 to 17.
Yeah. Per day.
Regular, or a
Okay.
regular school year where we're not dealing with people out on quarantines and all of those.
Oh, well.
That makes it being covered by building.
And how many are active on our list
Gillespie
right now?
behind you.
We have 30.
30.
30,
30.
says Ms. Perkins.
Okay.
Linda said 30.
Thank you.
But what,
And on a normal year, we have between 65 and 70 on our list, but that doesn't mean they're all active. They don't all work. They're just on a nice piece of paper.
But do we have a concern or an issue of subs actually working for us on any other given year besides 2020 and 21?
Yes.
Yes.
We have a sub shortage every
Yes.
year.
Yeah, and in fact, prior to COVID, we had a working committee to look at how we could take care of that. And Mrs. Angel Howell was overseeing that committee of some other ideas. Increasing sub pay was one of those. Our marketing strategies to get subs into the district. I was working with Mo
So
Valley.
if we have a committee, can we not hear from them next month? That would be great.
And then,
Probably haven't talked.
Have a committee?
do we have a committee or did you
just
form?
said we
We
had
had
a
one.
committee. I'd like to hear from them
Recognizing you.
whenever we have that, they could come and.
We had an active committee. Gosh, I can't even think. Paula, Kristen, Diane. We had 4 or 5 administrators because it is a constant concern to have substitutes in every single building. We have talked of different things. We've talked about hiring permanent subs, like 2 for the district, and then they would just, I mean, we've thrown out a lot of different ideas.
We'd like to hear.
Marketing was definitely a big one. Like Dr. Mayer said, we're not the only district with substitute issues. But basically, to answer the question, our committee went on total hold because we were about ready to present, was that like last March, I believe, right when everything shut down. We have not met since last February. We certainly would be willing to if that's what's something you all would like.
I would like that. Would you guys like that? For them
Yes.
to meet and then present next month? I mean, obviously, they've been working on something.
I think that we also might need to, Diane, on our strategic goal, and where we're talking about hiring and recruiting and retaining teachers, maybe we also throw another line in there about subs or shortage staff. Are they
I
on
was
that?
gonna say, there was something about benefits for subs on that.
Yeah, we talked about partial benefits, I think, yeah.
Could we do
All right.
that?
Yeah.
Let's do that next time.
Angel, how is that okay to have your committee present to us next month on that, yeah? And then Linda, let's make sure to have
An action
sub
item.
pay as an action item, might extraordinarily deep
So Matt
apologies.
isn't upset.
I didn't
with
mean to
us
be
next
obtuse
month?
about that.
Well, I asked for it to be an action item.
I must have missed it. I just like.
Okay, we'll do
Yeah.
it. We got a
It's
plan.
all Aaron's fault.
That one's definitely on me. I was definitely being
Tried to
blind
be
or
out of order and
obtuse.
help.
New business.
New business.
Are we finally? Okay. But hey, it sounds like we're gonna get some
122 calendar.
info on that.
Need a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we accept option 1 for the
second.
21-22.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Awesome.
Happy Wednesday. 4-day school week.
I do not know what MPS Board of Education Appreciation is about. I didn't really ask.
We
once
do
I saw it.
have some certificates from MSBA and from our senator
Our
for
senator.
board appreciation, and
Linda.
Linda has ordered a cake that we will have between
Cake, I'll be, cake, I'm
closed
for.
session.
Oh, my wife might be watching.
That says, thank you, MPS Board of Education.
I make a motion that we adjourn from open session.
Second.
Oh, okay. I think here,
Thank you, ma'am.
we're gonna start with Jake's.
Aye.
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 Is that Matt too?
Matt was in there.
Matt,
I thank you all for coming tonight.
Oh,
Wow. Yes, sir. I'll be talking to Kristen tomorrow.
Oh, you're talking to Linda?
You in my group,
Okay.
okay? Aaron was on.
yeah, go ahead. She's just gonna point for me to sign
I
it.
felt kind of left out, and again, I didn't.
Well, I should have kept my eyes on goal one. I didn't see, I just assumed if I was.
Yeah, thank you. I'm your, hey, I'm your witness.
No big deal.
I just honestly, while I was,
Yeah,
while we were talking, I was thinking, I figured, start getting action items.